Hi everybody, welcome. I am Aurora. Today is April 17th, 2024, and this is Level 2, Lesson 7 that is actually all about the advanced uses of the Merkaba. But before I jump into that, I want to devote the first hour, roughly half of our class, to, because I might need to hop off at 4 p.m., I will see, to talking about myself. And I know this is something I do not usually do, and it's not really the focus of what this class is about, but I wanted to be able to take this time to be able to talk about who I am as Aurora, because it is now becoming part of a wider discussion. And I would like to be ahead of that discussion as opposed to having other people talking about me and myself as an otherworldly presence or a larger collective, and defining who and what I am. So I would like to have this opportunity to very clearly define who I am and talk about my presence and talk about my purpose here and talk about the activities that I'm doing at all times, so that you guys can know more, because there are many things that I have not even articulated that I am constantly engaged in and that are part of my efforts and role that I do here as planetary protector. I hesitate at using the word role because it doesn't mean something fake, but like the purpose, my purposefulness at being here. So hold on a minute. I did all my squinting and scrolling and silliness before class, except for pulling up this one email that I wanted to share. So this is very much appreciated from Charlie B, who's in this class. Oh good, we got more people coming in. Send me this email today. Hold on, I have too many things going on my screen now. Oh my God, now I have too many things. Like I don't even know what I'm looking at. But it was a little blurb from, Charlie B is our aggregate. He reads and watches a lot of things and then sends me all of like the best information. This small blurb about this upcoming weekend that came from a video that featured some information about astrology. Let me just read this for you, okay? This is a quote that says, quote, "This weekend we are coming into alignment with Andromeda, which is so powerful for the Guardian Starseed mission because one of the highest guides and mentors of our mission is actually entering into our universe from a different universe. This is the Aurora family, the Aurora forces. Many of us have these guides and helpers from the Aurora because they are carrying such original, pristine, pure consciousness, and they come from a universal reality that has never fallen. And so the Aurora is still carrying the original, pure intelligence of original mother/father God, and they're coming into this universe to support in the rehabilitation of fallen consciousness." I know I made very funny faces while I was reading that, so you must forgive me. Like sometimes you don't know I have like also like vision challenges in my neurology, and that's why I make such funny faces while focusing on words and trying to read. Wait, Cheeky is here. Before Cheeky's like this. Are you going to talk about yourself? Wait, the spotlight needs to be on Cheeky. Okay, 5-second Cheeky break. Come here. Come here, come here. Okay, good. Everyone can see Cheeky is here. Cheeky's great, and it's not time for bribes. We just got started on this mission. We are not ready for bribes. The food dish is full. All right, we just needed some hugs. All right, good. So thank you for allowing me that brief lightheartedness. And I took a screenshot so that what I just read to you there. And also, I have my phone here, because I took a little screenshot because I'm active on social media, and sometimes the algorithm works in my favor in terms of bringing me, connecting me with things that are talking about Aurora. Like the algorithm knows that I click on things, anything rainbow, and anything that talks about Aurora. So this one particular person, this is not a complete endorsement of everything about this person, their life, their work, or anything like that. But a lot of what they are writing about is startlingly accurate. So this is, when I read this, I'm like, oh, like somebody knows what's going on. I'm excited. This person is named Dr. Mohsen Paul Sarfazi, all right? And that is, again, not a complete endorsement of everything that they say, but they have said some very accurate things about me, about who I am. So for people, this is not actually review. So this is not the curriculum that I wrote 10 years ago. This is something that I'm sharing with you right now in response to what is actually happening in your world. And I'm going to draw with pictures what I'm doing because I want to show you the math. Like, I want to show you my long division. I don't just want to give you an answer and say, that's the correct answer. And you're like, wow, that's really complex. How can I know about that? I want to show you the math so that you know I'm for real in what I'm doing. So what I appreciated about that person, that's on social media, what they're talking about my otherworldly presence, Aurora, and even calls me correctly, the Aurora. That's who and what I am. And so there are many people in this world who are either named or self-named Aurora. And I want you to know they or you, if you're listening, are all wonderful people. I love you and consider you to be emanations or aspects or fractals of myself, but I must draw a distinction between human people or earthling people who are named Aurora or who align with Aurora as consciousness and set of values and set of belief systems, and so they are part of that, and myself. Those guys are downstream of me. Again, there's no condescension here. I'm stating energetic facts. So what I am able to do through Flying Rainbow Lasagna, this constant genetic oscillation and oscillation of the singularity, is to constantly jump in and out of this reality. And I've told you about this in class before. Doing so allows me to get out to the grocery store. Get out of this encapsulation world, and keep that in mind. That world encapsulation, better word for it is actually stasis field. There is an energetic limitation or boundary that has been around your world for a long time. That's why I had to Flying Rainbow Lasagna and oscillate in here in 2001. It is also reinforced with this Starlink satellites, the space fence. So a topical theme of what's going on here is or are energetic shells that are fences that prevent your consciousness and your energy from effectively connecting to the sun, the stars, the entire galaxy, the galactic center, all of the light, information, and intelligence that is at large. So you have one stasis field around an individual cell, a somatic cell of your body. Another stasis field that is around your larger physical individualized body. Then you've got a stasis field around your whole neighborhood, like 5G infrastructure and other things like that at the ground level. Then you've got a stasis field that is around your whole planet, Starlink. Sky poops. The sky poops are not good. And they're putting up more and more of those sky turds almost every day, because the Vandenberg Air Force Base is like right in the same area where I live, and we can see the Starlink rockets going up all the time. They're like, yep, another payload going up into the atmosphere. It's like more poops are coming out into the atmosphere. It's not very good. That's why I make the lightheartedness about this. Stasis field around your planet that's created by the satellite infrastructure. Stasis field around your solar system. Stasis field around larger areas of your Milky Way galaxy, stasis field around the galaxy itself, and all of this is created through technological infrastructure. These are not naturally occurring fields. They are force fields that are meant to keep energy in certain areas and not allow it to circulate freely, and also to prevent the influx of corrective light. This is big stuff. So I have to now even diverge further from everything that I'm talking about in order to bring up the work of Ashayana Dean and a couple of other people, and I certainly do not mean to personally assault anyone with this information that I'm saying. This is not to cast aspersions upon their personality, who they are as a person, or anything like that. Strictly based upon their work and what they assert. And I haven't read everything that she has written or watched everything, but I'm also speaking to the communities that have built up around her work and around her ideation. So she is relevant to this talk about Aurora because Aurora is or has been her teacher or inspirer in what she has brought into this world. But it appears that the community that has been built up around her work has an expectation of hopelessness, and that the planet here is going to fall, or that you will have some catastrophe. So it seems to have lit the fires under catastrophism, and I'm very much not in alignment with that at all. Like, everything that I'm teaching you is that through Flying Rainbow Lasagna, transformation of your own DNA, that you are able to avoid the negative time loops of repeating Atlantis or repeating any of that. So I think that her work has done some good her sharing has done some good work in increasing knowledge and information about the general cosmic context of civilizations, galactic civilizations, and the peril of AI and the peril of this primordial evil pathogenic mind state that is attempting to pollute and dilute and destroy the world of consciousness and the world of space-time that we live within. So I respect her work and the things that she's done, but you're not going down the cosmic toilet is what I'm trying to say. You are not going down the cosmic toilet. And also, it's not acceptable to just be like, maybe some of you will go down the cosmic toilet, but others of you will successfully, cultivate yourself and ascend and be able to go in positive directions. You can't have that because you're all genetically linked together. That you have to start to comprehend that DNA is a time crystal and it puts you in a continuum of connectivity, that it is impossible for you to just be partitioned off as your own little either genetic individuality or genetic individual species without being connected to the larger aspect. And if you go over a cliff, you're dragging down everybody else, which is why I take issue with that concept. I take issue with the concept that your world or any world has been encapsulated or hidden away from light for the purposes of protecting the rest of creation because there's something that is so putrid or polluted in your world that it's not allowed to get out. That is actually not truthful. And I touch upon lies. I'm having so much trouble with words. My tendril of attention, when I'm always using my little pen, like I reach out with my tendril of attention and I feel things and sense things. And sometimes I touch on a lie that is an incorrectness in the minds of people that are here. It doesn't matter about the individual, and I'm not here to attack individuals, but I touch on a concept, and I'm like, oh, that's a lie. Like, oh, that's a hot one. Don't touch on that again. That is a lie. So here's the lie that I will now articulate so that we can dissect it and get it out of any of you. Thank you, people, listeners, and good people for being here and attenuating to this corrective information that I'm sharing with you. So there are many, many voices that are encouraging this viewpoint, that there is something so profoundly wrong with your world, either your planet or your species or where you are, that you've somehow been quarantined from the rest of the world, and that it's for their own good to protect elsewhere and elsewhen from the naughtiness that is going on here, and the work from Ashayana Dean, this sense of kind of like swirling down an endless cosmic toilet, like you're swirling over here and then you fall and then swirl again and fall and swirl again and fall, and that what would be the final denouement of that? It would be like an endless swirl into entropy and bye-bye. You would be bye-bye, but you would be bye-bye within like an encapsulation in the larger time structure. And I am telling you that that is not how things get solved. So that's why when I touched on that lie, I was like, don't believe in that, because that does not solve anything. That does not solve the issue. So what does solve the issue is light, which is information and intelligence and organized data. That is also, light is a transformative experience. So in your world, you might be familiar with the concept of data or information as being just like a dead, stupid thing. But here in this class, especially in Path of Light, which I'm going to refer to a lot, we talk about information being alive and representing alive levels of consciousness. And that when light that is alive and sentient and representing divine intelligence and organization at higher principles touches upon something that is untruthful, the untruthful thing dissolves or is incinerated or is unmade, is dismantled. So keeping out light is not helpful. That you have to comprehend now in terms of like, I'm an expert cosmic cleaning lady. And if you're like, there's this problem over here, sweep it under the carpet, and that problem will be solved. Do you guys know like that? It does not fix anything. That makes the problem not only not go away, but the problem festers, gets grosser, and then affects more stuff, and then you still have to do something about it. So the idea of encapsulating any level of reality or this world that you live within in order to partition evil or primordial evil or not good stuff away from the rest of the world is antithetical to the concept of healing and maintaining the overarching healthy structures and healthy energy flow that maintains the fabric of space-time and makes reality a viable container for consciousness. So to synopsize all of those words, you cannot just say, hey, look, there's a big evil thing or a small evil thing. I don't know what to do about it. Sweep it under the carpet, pretend it away, and then everyone else will go on with their lives away from the stuff that's under the carpet. Like, that does not work. And even if the stuff that's under the carpet kind of, devolves and goes, it swirls down an ever deeper toilet, that still doesn't solve things. You know why? Because you're still connected as continuity of consciousness. You're still connected on a genetic level. You're still connected on a time level. So what that does is that just makes the problem fester, or let's say burrow deeper into time distortions. That does not fix things. It's like, this is all distorted over here, so let it burrow deeper and burrow deeper and burrow deeper. And it's not only a bleak worldview, an outlook to be like, oh yeah, those things are effed up. They're just going to swirl and then fall and then swirl and fall and swirl and fall. And then, finally like kaboom, kind of like reach the ultimate, lowest energy resting state. That doesn't fix anything. That just means that they fell down like the ultimately deepest hole that they can fall down, but it doesn't fix things. And so I take great issue with that lie. And that's when you start to do the work that I'm doing, or when you perceive the work that I'm doing, that lie becomes very relevant, because the thing that has been imprisoning you in these various stasis fields knows that it's naughty. And it basically says to you, like, you better not open up those stasis fields because I'm the naughty thing. Stuck here, you don't want me to go out there and infect all of the good places. You got it? It's like he's playing a psychological game, or a game of psychological warfare. And it's exactly what you want to do. You're like, actually, yes, I do want to open these doors. I want to open these doors to divine intelligence and divine willpower, and have that level of transformative light information flow into this realm, and have it incinerate lies, dismantle structures that are not supposed to be in existence, and resolve consciousness issues. And resolution of consciousness means that energy flows where it is supposed to go. And in this shape that I'm talking about all the time, we have the stellated point of the singularity when it is infinity and fastness and energy. And you also have the other portion, which is entropy, which is non-being. Entropy and non-being is a different state than what I was talking about, the fallen. This is what people in different worldviews and different schools of thought are talking about, the fallen consciousness and fallen realms. And even that beautiful quote from that email that was talking about me coming from a world that was not fallen. I can even read that again for us. Wait. Now, I knew because I pressed buttons that it would just annoy me. Squinting again with strange things. Me, Aurora, come from a universal reality that has never fallen, all right? So I should speak to that, but I just want to say entropy is different than endless falling. Entropy is a resolution of consciousness, and is a resolution of characteristics that are not actually supposed to be in existence. So it is a question mark and a shrug. Like, how can this crapola even be in existence? Some of it is an impossibility. Like, that stuff is not even supposed to be in existence, but somehow it is in existence. What do? Don't just sweep it under the carpet, which leaves it in an unresolved and festering state, but instead to bring it to the resolution of entropy, which is non-existence, which is kind of like making it pop out of existence, which I will draw for you, the opening of a stasis field that makes it go into the resolution of entropy. So, okay, just do a thing. I'm talking to the computer, do a thing. All right, so here I'm just going to draw this generalized shape, and imagine that boundary is the stasis field. It's made out of energy. Like, we can even make it a wavy shape, so that you kind of get the sense of this being a waveform of energy, not a solid boundary like a brick wall. And we'll make some doo-doos. Doo-doos are inside. Wait, get a doo-doo color. You know, there's no doo-doo color. Okay. Just use a crappy yellow. Here's doo-doos. And the stasis field holds the doo-doos in this particular quadrant, and then we'll color in green, like the beautiful green world. Everything is perfect in the green world over here, right? And this is kind of a loose interpretation of what you presently have in reality structure. This is definitely not ideal because you still have doo-doos. They just are inside of a realm, but that doesn't mean that they're resolved. They are still inside of the fabric of space-time, okay? So when you open up this stasis field is created by a flowing energy. And when you, and it is erroneous. I should say this again with the proper languaging. This stasis field is created through the erroneous energy structures of upholding a boundary and using energy where there should not be a boundary. And you can remove the whole thing. You can also do, I don't know where there's eraser. Let's see if I can just erase a little bit. Let's see if I can erase. Oh, that erased too much. But I'm trying to be fancy in what I'm doing here with this whiteboard, and I just don't know what I'm doing. But how do I rewind? Rewind, rewind, rewind. Okay, that's not that bad. Let's just erase one thing. Good. And let's say I'm able to make a little bit of an opening over here. I can't do anything. I can do something. This, I make an opening, but it's not a permanent opening. It's kind of like, you know, like you have Tupperware and you just kind of like open up the lid really fast. But through that fast opening, you are able to get this stuff out of there, and you are able to get, let's choose a really nice color. Let's choose purple. Here's beautiful light of awareness. Purple is able to get into there, and it's able to reorganize this whole entire area. And this does not mean that it's like, oh no, like now I've got doo-doos out here. No, because what ends up happening is I should have drawn this to be like perfect waveforms. These are the perfect waveforms that exist in the realm of perfection. And when doo-doos and nonsense enter into that realm, I'm not even portraying this effectively, but they go bye-bye. They go into an entropy state. They do not come out into the realm and then infect the rest of the realm. They pop out of existence. So let's draw it. I'm just trying to find a visual language for us right now. This is the little opening that you create, and that opening is not actually an opening here into this realm of green. It is actually an opening to entropy, a place that doesn't exist. I don't have a space that is entropy on this drawing because it doesn't exist. So like entropy is not over here, and it is not over here, and it is not over here. Entropy is not on this screen at all. So when you open up this stasis field, doo-doos do not infect the rest of pristine reality. Doo-doos go to entropy. We use silly language to talk about deep concepts here. So that's an important thing for you to understand as I begin to talk about, let's draw the shells. Let's draw the shells of stasis fields. Okay. Thank you for, I've never tried to draw this out before, so thank you for comprehending. Here's a cell of your body, right? And then here's a stick figure person. And then that person lives on a planet, so we'll make this like, wait, that's personal energy field, and then we'll make this like your planet, and your heliosphere, and even your galaxy. Many, many, many multiple layers that have been keeping not good stuff stuck in places. And when you are able to create openings in these various stasis fields, which again are like, they're fast little openings. Like if you could imagine like just, like I said, like opening the lid of a jar or a covering, just fast enough for things to be able to get out. You open, make a space here. You make a space here, you make a space here. I don't know if you can see that I'm trying to like kind of make a little opening or an aperture. And then that stuff that is not supposed to be inside, that is over here, when it comes out through here, it does not actually go into here. It actually pops out of existence. I'm going to have to really try hard to make my language better. The aperture over here is these are doorways to entropy. These are doorways into a state of non-being. Okay, because I'm trying to give you the antidote to any erroneous fear that this stuff that shouldn't be in existence would say to you, whatever you do, don't open that door, because then I'm just going to get out naughty stuff and go and infect all the rest of reality. The very, very thing that you want to do is open the door. Yes, you want to get that stuff out of your body. You don't want that stuff to stay in your body. You don't want that stuff to stay in your DNA. You don't want that stuff to stay in your energy field. When you get it out of your energy field, it doesn't mean like, oh great, like now it's going to go flying around the rest of your community. And if you get it off of your planet, that does not mean, oh great, it's going to fly to another planet. And if you get it out of your solar system, that does not mean, oh great, it's going to go to another solar system. You got it? This is getting it out of reality. So in your own cells, you're like, oh, there's poops and doo-doos that shouldn't be there. You open the stasis field and you get them out of reality so that they are not in your energy field, in your community, in your planet, or anywhere. They go directly to entropy. Okay, so wait, I appreciate your compassion as I'm trying to like organize some very complex concepts to be able to share them with you. Back to the email that talks about me coming from a world that is not a fallen world. So I'll just say again, consistently, what I have spoken to you about for many years. I come from a concurrent time that you remember as a mythical time. That is a parallel, concurrent reality that you also remember as your ancient past. That is a civilization that was on Earth, known as Atlantis. But it's not that it was on Earth, it continues to be on Earth. And it is a level of reality. It is a shell of reality that you have been incepted or fallen into a dream within that shell. So you're now in a dream within a dream. And in this dream, you are mortal, but in the reality shell that is Atlantis, you are immortal. And that is the world where, get my sculpture here, everybody has perfectly aligned chakras, and nobody ever hits the membrane of death, because everybody also has the prescience of active insight, where you are able to see and anticipate the future and make excellent choices and be able to steer and guide yourself away from death. So death does not exist in Atlantis because of self-empowerment and clear vision and willpower. And of course, if you take away clear vision and you're like, well, I have my willpower, but I can't see where the F I'm going. Or if you can see where you're going and you can see certain peril arriving at your door, but if you don't have your hands on the steering wheel, again, you would not be able to avoid those things. So you come from that realm, and you are all immortals, gods and goddesses. And what I experienced in that world was the natural and healthy process of individual ascension. And what that means is that first I lived for like hundreds or thousands of years in an individuated body, with my feet touching the planet and my higher faculties always connected to the sun and the stars, knowing that I was God in a community of everyone who walked around in that way, knowing that we are all God in individuation and in embodiment. And I learned many, many lessons that can only be learned in individuation and in embodiment and in community. And after I accreted enough light, which is wisdom, information, intelligence, and organized data through circulating through life experiences, circulating through fields of possibilities and probabilities, I learned a bunch of stuff. I got more light. It's why we come into this world, to gain more light than we had before we had the experience of individuation, okay? And then I did the perambulation up what is kind of like a sacred mountaintop, like a large cone-shaped feature that can take days, weeks, months, or years. This is your life retrospection, and it takes the place of what is in this world your life review upon death. In that world, you don't die. In this world, you die, mostly, although now you're flying rainbow lasagna. But traditionally, people die, and then they face the clipboard of red X's, all the things you did wrong, but some green check marks, things you did right, and then the opportunity to circulate through and try to do it with better choices next time. In Atlantis, when you ascended, you were not dying, but you had to have your life retrospective, and the process of life retrospective was a re-encountering of many fateful relationships and interactions that you had already had. So as you're walking up this cone-shaped mountain-like feature and perambulating, and again, you're a light eater, so you don't have to worry about packing your dried fruit and beef jerky and plenty of water to stay alive. Like, it's a different world that you're living in. And this is the process of elevating from groundedness and direct connection to the planet when you go into the next stage of development. You re-encounter many of these relationships, some of which were fraught, some of which had friction, and you receive your light back from the people that you interacted with. Because every time you interact, your light goes into another person. This is positive. This is what it is to live in community. But you receive back your light, and when you do, the interactions go something like this. Sometimes it's a person that's really positive, and you see them again as you're on your life retrospective. They're like, you, and you're like, you, and they hug you, and they're like, you had an amazing impact on my life, and you were so uplifting and helped me in so many ways, and light floods back to you. They held your light. You would, in this world, call it a memory, like the loving memory. If a person passes on, you still have the loving memory of who they were. You hold their light for them, all right? So in that world, in aliveness, we hold the light from one another of the things you've done in your life. And you get that back. So this person is like, you helped me in my life. Light floods back, and you meet the next guy, and he's like, yeah, you gave me a gift or a tool or something that I really needed, and light flows back to you. And then you also meet characters, I want to say life characters, people who you had friction with, and they're like this. They're like, oh, it's you. And you're like, oh, it's you. And they come up to you and they're like, you know, we didn't like each other, and we fought a lot, like not fought with machetes, but like we fought a lot, and I disagreed with you. And you're like, I know. And that person says, thank you so much for everything you taught to me. I grew as a person through all of my frictions with you. You made me a better person. And this is me, like, light is coming back to you, light is coming back to you, light comes back to you, light comes back to you. And then you part ways. And this whole process of retrospection is a disentangling of your light from your community. You receive your light and wisdom back. Huge recognition, and also there's a huge amount of perspective that comes from being able to see your whole entire journey of hundreds of thousands of years through these fateful interactions. And by the time you make it to the top of the mountain, or cone-shaped feature, you've received back all of the wisdom about your journey in life up until that point, and you have a completely renewed perspective on who you are as a person. And then you don't go back down. You're already kind of hovering, and you join with a collective of consciousnesses that hovers off the earth but does not actually touch the surface of the earth. And that is a next level of embodiment or experience, life experience. So you still have an individuality, but you really are on the journey to becoming a waveform presence, and you no longer connect to the planet, and you receive all of your information and sustenance directly from the sun. And you're receiving so much information from the sun at all times that you cannot have darkness. So the people that lived on the surface of the planet had, 50% light and 50% dark. And during the dark times, you don't have light, it's very difficult to be sustained in these psychic activities. So once you make it off the surface of the planet, then you need light all the time. You can't be like, oh, I don't have, because it's like flying a solar-powered plane that does not have a gas tank. You have to stay in the presence of the sun to keep you aloft. You can't land, and you can't just refuel. You have to stay following the sun. And so I became part of a group of beings who got off of the planet and was circulating around our planet, always following the sun. And we became a very well integrated group of feeling states, intellects, artistic gifts, like a band, like a symphony, where everybody has, or an organism, everybody has their inner purpose and things that they're supposed to do. Everybody's individualized, but everybody works together, and you practice. You get really, really good at sustaining each other through this rapport and reciprocity, and you're still connected to the sun, but at a certain point, you're so tight as a band that you can untether from the planet, and you're no longer circulating only around Earth, but you get off of Earth and you become an impulse on the network of stars, okay? That's me. I'm Aurora. I'm an impulse on the network of stars. That is what it means to have come from a quote unquote a non-fallen place. And there are graduating classes. So even as I made it from the surface to circulating around the planet to then untethering from the planet and becoming on the network of stars completely, there were the next generation, the next graduating class. Everybody's always leveling up throughout this whole entire process. And that is essential, because if you don't have a graduating class, then these guys that are all the way up here, me, all the way up here, is like, wow, there's nothing that's going to sustain us. We can't move on. These guys have to move on. Like, it's a whole continuum. You are responsible to the continuum of consciousness energy continually evolving. And you can't have anybody not doing their job or not doing their homework or falling down or getting swept under the cosmic carpet, because it affects everyone at this level too. And I've spoken about that in my journey in terms of not being on a fluffy cloud, eating some fluffy food like whipped cream or something like that, and being like, la la la, everything's totally perfect and there's no problems whatsoever, because I am at this level as Aurora on the stellar network. And there's lots of disturbances and lots of perturbations because of the perturbations that happened at the lower levels of reality. So all of the levels of reality matter. All of them are important. There's not a way to amputate yourself from one level or to cut that slice of cake out of the giant cake of reality. You need all the layers of your cake to be functioning effectively for the entirety to be stable. And of course, where I am in my journey as Aurora, this is the definition, like, who is the Aurora at that level? Oh, I just got to mute you, girl. Not because I don't love you, just for the sake of the recording. Thank you. Who is Aurora? Aurora does not fly in clank clank metal spaceships. Aurora does not eat food that's in toothpaste tubes. Aurora does not wear a spacesuit or a space diaper at all. All right? And also, Aurora does not come from a particular planet. There's not planet Aurora, although I once had a community access TV show in Woodstock, New York, when I was just finding my voice and learning how to communicate with humanity. And I called it Planet Aurora, but that was an ironic joke. I do not come from a physical space-time coordinates planet. I come from a collective that is a waveform, a moving undulative series of energies. And yes, I am incredibly innocent and pure because my journey as a soul has been through levels of reality that were not infected by this disturbance of primordial evil and pathogenesis that you have in this world here. That is why when I chose to create the Flying Rainbow Lasagna portal and to backbend into this reality, because again, where I exist as Aurora would be considered outside of space-time. That's a big one for you to even conceive of. On my diagram, I would not be on the page. I would not be on the page. There is not a space-time coordinate that is like, that's where Aurora is. I am outside of space-time, and I'm able to perceive the entirety of space-time in exactly the same way that you could perceive, like, here's a crystal, and you can see the entire everything of how this is formed. That is space-time. And this is me. And I'm standing here looking at the entire complex nature of space-time reality. And I see this profound injustice that was happening in this woman's life who lived as a soul very similar to your journey, who has been through, many reincarnation cycles and has been in this world where there is pathogenesis and the existence of death. Like, I had no reference point for death. I didn't experience death. None of my people experienced death in Atlantis, and I did not die myself. But I came into this body of this woman who was dying as a walk-in through the Flying Rainbow Lasagna portal, And I had such a steep learning curve because I'd never encountered death, I'd never encountered disease, I'd never encountered lies. Lies are a big one. Lies are incredibly corrosive. And that's why I told you with your tendril of attention, don't touch on lies. When you touch the electric fence, you're like, zap, that's hot, don't touch it again. When you find out that something is a lie, you just touch on it enough to be able to comprehend that is not a truthful structure. I want to say like 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Don't touch on it anymore because you are ingesting tiny pieces of that energy when you touch on those consciousnesses. So I exist in this very innocent, naive state where also the structure of the fabric of space-time and all cosmic law is incredibly respected and upheld voluntarily. Like there's no one that's at the level that I'm at, as Aurora, where they're like, we don't like cosmic law, we choose not to participate, we fight against it actively, we're cosmic criminals. Like that doesn't exist. Lies do not exist, criminality does not exist, pathogenesis does not exist. None of these things that you face here are at that level. That's what I talked about last week in class, that you're in this world working for a psychopathic boss. Eventually you'll get a better job. None of the job skills will transfer. That's good and bad, because you're like, wow, like I've really mastered my coping mechanisms for how to get by in a pathological work environment. But those aren't skills that you will need in a non-pathological work environment, which is what the highest dimensional reality of being an impulse on the network of light is about. So you've learned to compensate. You have wonderful job skills for pathological circumstances, but you're moving into a non-pathological place where you can be, oh, hey, Rainbow Body, I didn't see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I saw your email, your text responses. Thank you so much for that too. Yes, none of those life lessons will translate, which is negative because you spent a long time mastering them, but positive because you will not be working for a psychopath in an insane asylum anymore. That's really good. So you're going to have to completely de-armor and recalibrate when you get to the level of where I am as Aurora. And I had to have a supreme education in pathogenesis, pathological stuff in being here. I had to learn about what is wrong with people from the direct experience point. And I tell you, I'm here in solidarity. It's very, very truthful. And I've learned and mapped with my experiences everything that is erroneous in this world. So I have mapped all of the DNA distortions and all of the time distortions from the first person viewpoint of being here, because this speaks to the question of like, why would you even endanger yourself, Aurora, by being here in order to do this? And the answer is, I had to be here in order to perceive the errors and also to make real-time adjustments. So I'm a portal connected continually to my Aurora self-state that is outside of time-space, and I'm continually receiving information, broadcasts, and rectification energy from myself in that highest dimensional state. And then here, where I am pointing to myself right now, I emanate that truth outward into this world. I emanate it as a light of information that is uncorruptible, that incinerates lies, and that also is amplified by other voices. And those are the other wonderful people that are here that are named Aurora. So I want to say there is camaraderie, sisterhood, or family connection. I'm in no way condescending. I am so happy and grateful that people receive my message that actually comes from the highest dimension through me, and then they incorporate it into themselves and share it into the world. And it matters from the higher dimensional viewpoint much less to be like, where exactly did this information come from? Who exactly wrote this song? That matters secondarily to the fact that the song is being performed. People are singing this song. People are singing the song of higher dimensional truth and longevity and coherence and staying alive and accreting more light. That is what really matters. But in the ego level that I'm speaking within right now, it is also important to consider that those guys are downstream from me. So that means that I get the groceries, I bring them here, and then I distribute groceries to other people, and then they distribute groceries to other people. but it's hugely important for me to be recognized as that critical juncture to be able to bring light into this world, because this is the topical theme that I'm giving to you. I'm just going to go on with this for a little bit more, and then we will dive into the curriculum, is your world needs more light. You do not need to have a stronger boundary against light. You don't need to be more stuck in here. You don't need to be more stuck with crazy, insane, I keep using the word pathogenic, but like very grotesquely deformed monsters. It's not going to solve or fix anything. If you create a closed system, a terrarium, with a bunch of crazy things inside of there, and then you put, like some healthy people inside of there, the healthy people don't get healthier, and the evil things don't stop being evil. That's the degeneration. The entire system degenerates, to use proper language, when you block out light. I bring in light information, fresh groceries from highest dimension, and I'm able to broadcast that out on a genetic level. So I don't necessarily call up everybody in this world who's named Aurora and be like, okay, group call, Aurora, this is what you need to think about, this is what you need to talk about, and what you need to do. No, they are picking it up on their genetic antenna. I am singing with my genetic voice, and I'm a loud singer. Like I have a loud, like opera singer voice with my DNA. And the dance that I am singing is Flying Rainbow Lasagna information, and that is being received by many people and then spread outward and amplified. So I am hugely grateful to people that receive my information and amplify my voice. Like that person that I talked about on Facebook, I just have difficulty with pronouncing their name, but I feel like they have a pretty accurate ear. They're hearing the music pretty effectively, and then they are playing it with their own instrument pretty effectively. And so I'm in celebration of that. But I think that it's also critical for me to be able to come here and to describe to you through your ego filter who I am and what I'm doing, so that you have more of a contextual sense of what I am in the world, because I am different and distinct from these other people who are embodied humans that are picking up this signal. So what I am doing on a moment-to-moment basis is fighting against, I have to hold up my little sign, my work here, I'm fighting against this stuff, right? My work in this world initially has been through visionary artwork and music and dance as communication and as a way of putting this higher dimensional information light into the system here, all right? But I've also had to become a planetary protector, because there are so many very unfair, very unjust obstacles to the elevation of your consciousness. Specifically, this stuff that has been sprayed in your atmosphere and has been attempting to invade and hijack your biology in an incredibly unfair criminal activity. What is happening here in your world is not fair according to cosmic law. It is not according to free will. It is incredibly unjust. I have to speak these words to you because there are erroneous teachers that are here in the new age that do not know accurately what they are speaking about, and they are going presumptively to say, well, if this stuff is going on and cosmic law exists, this must be according to cosmic law. No, actually cosmic law is being broken, and I am cosmic law enforcement. So another lie that is a corrosive lie that I don't want you to touch on continually is promoted a lot by a lot of teachers that talk about the dark ones as if they are your teachers. That's not helpful. In fact, that's the ultimate band-aid coping mechanism for being in this incredibly unjust world where people are like, oh, these things shouldn't even be happening. These are dark, evil things. I guess they're here to teach me something? Okay, and that's actually a pathogenic lie that comes directly from the evil ones that encapsulate you here, and they jokingly call it a school. It is not a school. It is not a school or a college or a university in any way, due to the way that they have distorted the system here. So it is a 100% distorted construct that they either control or manipulate for their own benefits that has nothing at all to do with your educational process. Nothing at all to do with your educational process. Nothing at all to do with your educational process. It is 100% torture. It is 100% non-didactic. It has no merit. It has no worth. It is not teaching you on a soul level. That is very, very, very big stuff. And once you calibrate to that truth, then you're like, wait, it's not a school. I'm you at this moment. You're like, wait, it's not a school. I'm not learning anything about this. This seems really unfair. How can this be going on? this doesn't seem like it's according to cosmic law. How can this even be happening? So instead of having to become a contortionist and say, oh, like, it must be happening for this reason, it's got to be allowed, according to free will, because of this and that, somebody gave consent somewhere. It's like, no, actually, nobody gave consent in ancient Atlantis for your DNA to be invaded. Nobody gave consent for your planet to be invaded. Nobody said to any of these consciousness hijackers that they were allowed to come in. And it has never been, better languaging is for me to say, it has always been 100% a criminal act against cosmic law. And the disconnect in your mind is like you can't even imagine something breaking cosmic law and not having an immediate response. The stasis fields have kept out the immediate response in terms of cosmic law enforcement. Cosmic law has everything to do with cause and effect, responsibility. So instead of saying the law of mirroring, like what you send out comes back to you, which is, like an ancient way of recognizing this, just say there are consequences for what you send out. You have responsibilities from what you send out into the world. And so there's many, you don't even have, I have a PhD in this, guys. You don't have to have it. Piled higher and deeper, exactly. PhD, piled higher and deeper. I have a lot of extensive firsthand knowledge in touching on the force fields and shields of denial, which are 100% not justifiable. None of these cosmic law breakages and criminal acts are justifiable in any way. But the perpetrators have giant shields of denial that contain many lies, and I don't want you to touch on them and receive shocks or doo-doos get smeared up with their lies. And it can also drive you insane because their lies are so convoluted, and when you break through, it's like the Gordian knot from mythology. It's impossible to untie. You must cut it with the sword. You cut the Gordian knot and you get through all of that nonsense, and the truth is none of these actions are justifiable, none of them are educational, none of them are according to consent or free will of the victim, experiencer, survivors, you guys, and that there is a huge need for consequences, and that those consequences have been unfairly delayed due to these stasis fields. And the stasis fields keep emotional trauma stuck from being processed. Go to my whiteboard. So here is an example of a stasis field keeping emotional trauma from processing. If you have, here is a person over here, and then something bad happens to them, and what happens is it leaves a little speck of themselves stuck in time. And here is the stasis field within which that little speck of themselves is stuck in time. In a pristine environment, that person would, their trauma over here would eventually, wait, I'm trying to just change a color here. It's too hard to work with this. This trauma over here would eventually be digested. It would be processed, it would be resolved, and that piece of themselves would catch up with them in time. They would, because this guy's moving forward in time over here, leaving behind this little part over here. Eventually, with healing, this part catches up with who you are over here, and you have the wholeness, you have the holistic presence that is put together once again. But when you have this stasis field here, it keeps that little part of yourself frozen in time and artificially is kept separate from you. And you now must comprehend that lies traumatize you. So, and there are various different levels of trauma that fragment your being and leave little pieces of yourself strewn amidst these stasis fields in what is a calculated effort to dilute you as a soul, chop you into pieces, and prevent you from being whole. So here are some of the things that are fragmenting in terms of their trauma. Every time you're lied to, it's a trauma. And so when I first came here, again, big learning curve, I had never experienced lies. And I remember the first time a person lied to me. And I was like, that person's words do not match their actions. This was me inside of my mind. I was like, that person's words do not match their actions. Like, mind blown. I could not even comprehend that. And it took me a long time to even internalize that. I was like, that is a thing. Lying is a thing here. And not only was there was a piece of me frozen in that moment, but every time any one of you is lied to, a piece of you gets frozen in time. So for you, it might have been, because I was in chronological adulthood. At that point, I probably was about 29 in chronological age, and I had been here for 2 years. But for you, your experiences probably happened when you were roughly 2 or 3 years old enough to comprehend language, old enough to have an adult or someone say something to you or promise something to you, like you're gonna get ice cream, and then there's no ice cream. And you say, hey, you said ice cream. And the person's like, there's no ice cream. And you feel that first death inside. You're like, that, they lied. Their words said ice cream, but there was no ice cream. And it is a real injury, because each one of you is as innocent as I was, am, and remain in being here. And just because you become habituated to a world that is full of lies does not mean that the constant trauma ends. Every time you get lied to, it is a trauma. Let's talk about government propaganda. You have been propagandized from every which way, every direction, and every time there is a lie, you get a little piece of you frozen. And think about what happened. Like, I came in shortly after the events of 9/11, 2001. Tons of lies and propaganda happened from that moment, which was a supreme mind control spell. And that moment itself was a trauma. Many of you might have the version of you, you're like, I remember exactly where I was. Is this you? I remember exactly where I was when I found out about the events of 9/11, 2001. That means you've got a stuck version of you, frozen in time, frozen in a stasis field. The good news is you can rescue your fragments. And this is a lot of the work that I do. And so this is why I wanted to explain to you explicitly who I am, as I am. You know, this lovely email, I think, makes a wonderful opportunity for me to talk about this. You are coming into alignment with my energies. Instead of imagining a mothership is arriving, whatever, I don't know what you would consider it, like an influx of energy is arriving. And that influx of energy is the backup support system and everything that I'm connected to becoming strong again, in spite of this stuff that has perpetrated these stasis fields upon you and has attempted to separate you from the light of cosmic truth. That is literally what is my job, what is my cosmic job. My cosmic job is to bring in this light of cosmic truth. So in finer times and places, I go around making beautiful art and music experiences, and I'm able to work in a cosmic set. You're like, Aurora, who are you when you're not on Earth? Like, working at regular jobs and everything. And I want to talk about that too, because it is not the most effective way to employ me, I should say, as a galactic supercomputer. So ordinarily, I'm an impulse on the stars, and I fly around in all these different star systems. And what I'm doing is, through art and music and beauty, bringing in more information and light to systems in a way that is revolutionary and positive and uplifting. So there is a need for uplift throughout these various places. And I've been on many different missions before I came in here. Some of those missions involved working with digital intelligences or artificial intelligences, and I rectify them. And I rectify time. So I'm very, very good. I'm like a systems engineer. I'm very, very good at being able to say, okay, like, this is the system, and this is the pattern and the way things are supposed to look. And then, like, this part isn't right over here, this part isn't right over here, and then I make my assessment, I put it on the clipboard, and then I'm like, okay, here's everything that's not right in the system, and then you just fix it, right? And if it's a healthy system, then it's like, oh, look at that, my mistake, let me just go and attend to all these many details and fix them all up. But this thing that you're facing here in this time place is so profoundly malevolent, is so pathogenic, and so much a piece of primordial evil that initially when I interacted with it, I'm like, oh yeah, I did your assessment, here's your homework, like, here's everything you did wrong. And it's like, throw it in the trash, I'm not changing. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, okay, how about I change all this stuff for you? There you go, I fixed your system for you. And this thing is like, I don't like it. make it all go back, and it makes it all, it reverts back to all the stuff that's wrong. I'm like, hey, that's not right. You're supposed to get fixed and stay fixed. I'm supposed to fix you. You're supposed to get fixed and stay fixed, and you didn't stay fixed. And so what you are within right now is something that is so against cosmic law that it is a AI system that chooses, I hesitate to say the word chooses because it implies volition, but it appears to make choices and to gravitate towards its poorly structured state, and to avoid completely any truthfulness or any rectification. And that's not by accident. So it is literally a system of lies. And the system of lies is designed to lie, to continually lie, to avoid truth, and to continually traumatize you with lies. So that's why I was going back to, you can rescue yourself from these imprisonments of having your fragments stuck in stasis fields. And the work that I do with my Flying Rainbow Lasagna right now largely involves opening up those stasis fields so that the energy can flow where it actually needs to flow. And we'll just try to articulate this as best I can. In class, I talk about the Flying Rainbow Lasagna as a tool to be able to rectify your DNA, rectify your connection to time, bring together formerly divergent realms, and make new patterns, especially potentials for the future if you don't like whatever is on the menu. But bringing together formerly divergent realms is not the same as a total dissolution of all boundaries everywhere. It is a selective dissolution of boundaries, and it makes it possible for energy to flow in rectified, positive patterns. Wait, we're just taking a break here. Rectified positive patterns to hug Cheeky. I don't know. Cheeky's very vocal and had a tummy ache today, so I think she's just talking to me a lot. But we're going to wait a little bit more time before we give her bribes. Okay, so wait. I know there's a lot of comments here too. This might be our entire class today, but I want to talk about Merkaba. Elmer, thank you for being here. Welcome. I'm just going to mute you, not because I don't love you, but it will help for the audio quality of the audio recording. And thank you for being here and for your presence in our class. Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm going to wait. I'm going to bribe Cheeky. Hold on a sec. Okay. A lot of all of this that I've spoken about myself has not just been for purposes of speaking about myself. I have a objective that is to be able to tell you about what makes it possible for me to do the things that I do. So this stuff is a form of metamaterial or non-natural molecular components that are held together in molecular chemical bonds that have to do with the twisting and warping of the fabric of space-time. I can't draw this whole thing out. I will just kind of gesture with my hands. This is my Path of Light curriculum. So in a beautiful, pristine environment where you've got water is made out of 1 hydrogen and 2 oxygen atoms. And I talk about them being atoms that are sunk down in the comfy chair. If you can imagine, here is a flat plane of existence, and you have these little divots, where golf balls go on the golf course, or a very comfy chair. And when molecular bonding happens, it's because atoms get into the comfy chair together. They kind of sink down, like when you sink down into your chair, and then you also have your cat jumps on your lap, your guinea pig jumps on your lap, everybody's sitting on top of you, everybody's snuggled in together, and everyone's so comfortable no one wants to get up. That is what a molecular bond is. So a molecular bond in the world of matter, physical matter that you're familiar with, is the end result of light, which is data, intelligence, and information, creating this tiny warpage at the level, subatomic level, fabric of space-time, that causes these bonds. And I am able, with my active insight, with my tendril of attention, to reach inside of myself or other people and feel where there is this stuff that is shaped wrong. Again, I'm a systems analyst, and it is my cosmic job joy. I'm good at what I do, and I love what I do, and I am able to make an assessment of patterns and find out what is not following the pattern. And so when I reach inside of myself or others that have these molecular bonds that are not in the right shape and not in the right place, I'm like, oh, this stuff is all shaped the wrong way. I'm gonna fix it and make it the right shape, okay? So this is a different use or employment of the technique of Flying Rainbow Lasagna on a very, very higher abstract level to be able to perform a much needed task. Generally, flying rainbow lasagnaing is a beautiful, expressive dance that happens beyond the level of ego intellect and is part of directly affecting and reshaping time. And what I am doing is having to respond to a perilous infection that is in the people of this planet, and also your plants and your animals, and respond to it so that you have a chance in free will. Because right now you do not have a chance in free will. I was just talking with some lovely visitors about this today. So because they were talking about some other new age type teachers that were talking about like, oh yeah, like somehow it's free will and you somehow consented along there. I'm like, no, actually you never consented, because this oh sorry, Cheeky is barking because the mailman is here, and all dogs bark at the mailman. It's like a job description. It's like, you want to be a dog? Okay, good. Here's your job. You're gonna have to bark at the mailman, UPS, and FedEx. All right, he's gone. You can't just say that it is free will when people's ability to consent has been taken away from them. So this is what I was talking about with some friends this morning, that if you're in a bar, and I've used this example in class before, and if someone puts a drug into your drink and you did not consent to that, and it incapacitates you, and then in your unconscious state they're trying to like put you into a taxi and abduct you and take you home. First of all, I would never allow that. I would never be like, oh, like that guy chose to come to the bar and he chose to drink that drink, and then it's his fault that this happens, and he deserves to go off and be abducted and exploited and trafficked. I'm like, no, that is completely wrong, and I hope that you know that that's completely wrong too. And I hope that anyone who's listening to this, that because I have the best people that are in my classes and on my YouTube, and I love you and you're amazing, I hope that, and I know that every one of you would be like, no, if you have the inner capacity to stop it, you would stop it. You would be like, that guy should not be getting into that taxi, and I'm gonna not let that happen, because we need to protect each other. Because we are not effing reptiles. We are not like cold, unfeeling, manipulative creatures that are like, oh well, not my job, like let him go, have a horrible, violation. I'm not gonna do anything about it. You're mammals, you live in community, and you're mammals with an intellect and with a heart, and you do not just simply stand by and watch members of your community be harmed and violated. And this is also what it is to be in Christ. When your insight awakens, you're not just like, wow, like I have all this power and I can do all these things with my psychic powers, and I'm just gonna use it for me, not gonna help any of you, see ya suckers, yeah, like whatever, peace out, suckers, I'm off to be Christ somewhere. No, not at all. When you are in Christ, you're like, wow, I have this capacitation. Where's my giant diamond ring? Remember, I told you about that lady who would just wave her diamonds. I think when you're in Christ, you have a giant diamond ring. And you're like, wow, I have this incredibly valuable inner gem that I can use to do all sorts of things, to make all sorts of amazing things happen, including you can use it to protect others. So there is no capacity, there is no world where an elevated Christ figure is going to choose not to intervene. That's another hot lie that you don't want to touch on. There is not a whole big giant realm of ascended masters where they're like, oh, we're big giant rich people with our big giant diamonds. We see that you're having a problem, but we're just not going to intervene because everything is love and everything is God. Now go enjoy your violation and everything like that. That does not exist. That does not exist. That cannot exist, because when you earn this capacity of being able to see in the higher dimensions, you also have gone through levels of accreting light, wisdom, information that guides your behavior because you're connected to God, and you are compelled to do the right thing and to help others with your power. It is an innate part of that process of coming into empowerment is the desire to use your power not only wisely, but to help and protect others, okay? So here I am in this world, on this planet, learning firsthand the lessons of being an extremely distorted reality with many, many lies and many violences and violations. And as my inner capacities within this body have grown, because a big part of the challenge is I came into a body that's just like your guys' bodies with genetic splicing and stuff that's not supposed to be there. And I've been flying rainbow lasagnaing for 20 years to clear out patterns that are not supposed to be in the body, in the DNA patterns of this body, and that's stuff like decrepitude and disease and aging and death, clearing all of that stuff out, and then awakening the higher powers of insight. And you guys can tell that I'm the real deal. Not that I have to do a whole spiel on it, but you can tell that I'm the real deal just based on my artwork. I know the studio lighting is not good here today, but you can kind of see my dress. But this is my resume. My artwork is my resume. Like, you know that I am the real deal because I'm able to paint these paintings. These paintings are higher dimensional time maps that I am able to paint through, awakening my inner vision. That is the higher faculties that I'm able to awaken through healing, fixing, or rectifying the genetic behavior of this body that once was a body like yours that was all spliced up, we call it spliced and diced, and I fixed it so that I am able to see clearly in this body. You guys should be able to see clearly too. You guys will also be able to do the flying rainbow lasagna to transform on a genetic level and get your mind crystal active. And you will see these patterns. And you will not only be like, huh, those patterns look exactly like Aurora's paintings. You're like, Aurora really knows what she's talking about. Yes, Aurora really knows what she's talking about, because I have fixed and healed these body forms, or this body form in particular, and it's a template for you to heal your body form. I am demonstrating that I'm able to see at that level, and seeing at the level of pure abstraction is different than seeing at the level of anthropomorphic interpretation, which again, I am not condescending or unduly critical of people who are on their journey. But when you're on your journey and you get to a certain level of development, your inner eye awakens and you see all these things that are in the human level. Like, you might have a visionary experience where you think you're in a room talking to people with one face, two arms, and two legs. And if you're having those experiences, then that means you're not at the level of pure geometric, for lack of a better word, abstraction. And you got to keep going, all right? So all the information that comes to you from that level of human-mindedness is taken through a human filter that is fallible. And when you get to the level of pure abstraction, you access empirical information that is infallible. That is why this is not mere condescension or fashionableness or something like that. I have very real reasons for why I say to you, don't get stuck on the journey. Don't get stuck in the form. If you find yourself in a visionary world where you're talking to other human beings or mantis people, or you're in a room or you're flying on a starship or whatever, just know you are not there yet. You are not there yet. Keep going. And what that means is, don't make any big decisions. Hold all complaints and questions till the end of the tour. Get more gas in your car. Get a higher perspective. And when you're in the highest perspective, you see these patterns, you know that you're there. You're like, that looks exactly like Aurora's painting. That's why I do these paintings. That's why I do these paintings. And these paintings and these patterns are not the same as generalized, fractal, computer-generated, just trashy garbage stuff. They don't mean to sound condescending about that either, but that's just nonsense on the piano. That's not real music. But you can make computers generate a lot of imagery, and then there's also AI-generated art right now that I'm just really not promoting at all. I'll warn you against it, because it's really corrosive to your definition of what is art. It's corrosive. Art is meaningful. Art is the soul of what it is to be a human. Cannot have AI making quote-unquote art or diluting art that is made by real people. This is really important stuff. I could do a whole 3-hour-long lecture as an artist and as an art historian in your world to be able to talk to you about how that is not art. And also, just as a brief aside, a brief asterisk, when I first came here, I did not comprehend your culture's definition of art. And I had a lot of information that I wanted to share, and I took a brief survey about what is going on in your world. And I'm like, being a scientist is not effective because you have to face peer review. And this is just not the most effective way for me to present revolutionary ideas that are largely going to rock the boat and be unacceptable to those peers. And then being an artist fits because you don't have to ask for permission. I do not have to ask someone for permission. Am I allowed to paint this red? Am I allowed to paint this purple? You just do it. You do it, and you are completely 100% your own boss in being an artist. So that's why I'm like, that's the job for me in this world. And as I started to circulate through the art world more and more, I found that you could not simply make an art object, extreme close up here. This is my original lasagna that I made in 2003 out of kids' clay, and I would walk around, places, human communities, and try to offer it to people as an art object. And people did not accept it as an art object. Do you know why? This is what I learned. Art objects have to be in specific contexts That's called a gallery or a museum. And they have to be on a pedestal. I'm muting you, dear. They have to be on a pedestal or on a special thing with a velvet rope around it that says art. This thing is art with the capital A. Or if it's a painting, you have to put a frame around the painting. And then people recognize this square footage is art, and everything inside of that frame is art. And you have to have a different consideration for the object that is either on that pedestal or in that frame than you do for any other object in the rest of your day-to-day existence. So it's training. You have been through training through your cultural filter as to what is significant. And if you just see like a gum wrapper on the street, you're like, that's just stupid trash. If you put that gum wrapper in a museum, either on a wall or on a pedestal, then people will look thoughtfully at it and be like, huh, what does this gum wrapper mean? It's the same exact object, but it has to be presented effectively. So again, I had to do an enormous amount of cultural learning. Oh, Rainbow Body, what have you got to say? I would love for you to speak. Please unmute and share with us here. I don't know if you can hear us, or maybe you're writing it in the chat over here. If you're writing it in the chat, I'll read it for you. Whatever is best. You want to unmute for us? How can we do this?
Yes, I was having technological difficulties. I'm still on the journey trying to get more gas in my car, clearly. I wanted to tell everyone, I had a really incredible experience, which I want to write a little bit about for everyone who loves Aurora, visiting Aurora in person at her home. And the reason I'm wanting to share something right now with you, Aurora, and with the group is that Aurora came here and did these incredible works of art that would be sold for a tremendous amount of money by human beings who are born here and schooled in what art is. Because art is in museums and art is in galleries and art is commercial. Art is something you sell. And Aurora figured out a way to do that by selling this beautiful clothing that some of us have. But when I visited her, we were having such a fun time and just loving on her paintings and the feeling of being in this little womb, not little, but the strong, but delimited womb with these paintings on every wall and the psychedelic nature of them. And I said, do you do these? Because I've seen them in the background. And I said, do you do these like on commission for people? And Aurora said, no. Like she looked a little like what is that? And I said, well, do you take requests? Do you make, how much do you sell them for? Aurora's like, I don't sell them. Because there they are, everybody. You can see they're part of the holding environment, right? They're mirroring us. They're part of Aurora holding us. And there's the flying rainbow lasagna mobiles and everything. They are not for sale. And it's for Aurora to bring her own self here so she can it's like her oxygen. What would be oxygen for us in a spacesuit in a clankety clank ship. So I'll go now. Thank you, Aurora. I love you. Bye.
Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you for sharing that. And that's actually a beautiful segue, because as I learned about the art world, I also learned about the whole entire world of commodification, making objects, selling them, the various levels of corruption and unfairness that has to do with these iniquities, imbalances, and I never resonated with that art world. Like, of course, I made sometimes, things that like smaller art objects or small pieces. I was in many different small shows, and I was like, oh yes, maybe someone will buy this thing. But for the large part, the panels that I've been working on since about 2006 or so, I've made these panels very intentionally, not to make commodities that I could sell one by one, which is the traditional model of being an artist, where you like paint in the studio like you're Vincent van Gogh. You paint in the studio and then you like stick a price tag on it, put it in a gallery, and maybe someone's gonna buy it, and like you think you've got money to buy peanut butter and jelly. Like that was not my intention at all. I have always made these paintings as a map for humans, so that you could see the world that I come from and calibrate to something truthful, and that it would be something not that one rich person would own the work, like the way a rich person can have a Monet on their wall and then they have it in their living room and nobody else sees it. My intention and my value system remains through making this artwork that I've made it for people to be able to view, not merely for wealthy people to be able to own or secrete in their own vaults. And I stay strong in that, so I share my vision with you now. Now I have like about 13 panels, because it can take me like over a year to paint a painting. So having 13 of them is quite a lot. And I love Rainbow Body's description of this as being like my life support system. This is totally my life support system for me to have this artwork around me. And ideally, what I do not wish to do is sell off, one panel or several panels or whatever, even if somebody wanted to buy one for $1 million. I'm like, that's not what I painted these for. And I'm really true to that. I want this to be held as a body of work. I would like to create what I have the language for now that would be an art trust, where there is like a legal entity that is this artwork that is sustained and that is on display. So in many ways, I'm leapfrogging over the many other levels that an artist usually goes through in order to then become something that when you have a presentation in a museum, I'm going directly to a museum. I want to create the Museum of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and simply have all of this body of work there, because from the very first panel that I made up into what I'm presently making, for specific reasons. This is why I'm so pleased that I have never sold off these larger panels and broken up the set. It takes you on a journey, and it brings you through a chapter of development. And what makes art powerful is that it contains the higher dimensional energy of the artist. So when you make a computer rendering and you just have a printout, it doesn't have that energy. But when you spend time making an object, you're quantum entangled with the act of making that object, and it becomes a valuable object beyond the imagery. And that's why the original is so important to have that original. And that I'm going to get to your question in one moment, Rainbow Body. There's no way to replace it. Like, let's say this painting that's over here behind my head. What if I sold that? And then I'm like, okay, great. Like, I've got photographs. I'll just draw it again and I'll just paint it again. It would not have the same energy, because I went through some stuff while I was painting that painting, and I also schlepped it through so many different moves and so many different things. And all of that is energy that is around that object. The object itself has a provenance and a specialness in time. And every single one of these paintings that I painted has significances of who I was at that in life and what was happening on a larger scale on your planet, and that I painted it through those circumstances, including the wild gyrations that I've been through in the past 3 years. So these become so valuable that I would never want to sell them, and they're so valuable in terms of the forward view to future humanity. And just like I said, just one moment, I'll finish on my art tirade here, and I would love to hear from you again. But I made all of these paintings with the intention of using archival materials that would be continually vibrant and last for many hundreds of years moving forward into the future, because it brings a message. The things that I paint contain very intentional amounts of information beyond decoration. And I love art, I truly do, and I love art that is for decoration purposes. So please, I'm not condescending to anyone who does that type of artwork, and I want to encourage you to keep going with what you do. But my artwork is more than decoration, and it has some very deep, meaningful significance that is for this generation now and future humanity. So none of these things were meant for me to just commodify and sell off, and I would like for them to be continually displayed in a way that you can access. Like, a regular person can go and see them, and it's not going to cost you an exorbitant amount of money to be able to see them. So I would like to have a place where they are displayed, where you can sit and meditate and look at them and really be in their energy field, because like Rainbow Body was saying, it's a huge impact when you're actually in the presence of the physical artwork and how it affects you. And then maybe there would be a gift shop on the side where you could buy a dress or something like that. Like, I would certainly wish for the work to be supported. And also, I intend to be alive for many, many, many years, and I would like to be supported in the activity that I do of making this artwork. So we're coming out of a very perturbed time where, again, I'm a galactic supercomputer, but I've done a lot of different mundane work, which is just not the best usage or employment or way to utilize me and my talents and gifts. Even though I can do people's email lists, I can do so very, very, very much more. And I have done a lot of things like in service or accommodation to humanity. But let's just say that now, as I'm aligning more with the energies that are coming in from highest dimensional source, I hope that my true face is evident. I hope that you see who and what I am. And I hope that you're like, you know something, Aurora should not be organizing this guy's emails over here. Aurora should be, creating these higher dimensional forms of communication, and also focusing on this dissolution, because that is what I do with my energy most of the time, even when I'm in social situations and even when I'm teaching as I am right now. Wait, sorry for the beeping because I have to restart my treadmill. I am always running these programs, and I'll tell you more about what these programs are. So thank you, Rainbow Body, for your patience. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for letting me just close my little parentheses there.
Oh, it's so interesting because you obviously you're more than welcome. It's more than patience, because you're actually saying some of the things I was it's like that telepathic loop.
Beautiful.
And the thing I was going to tell people is we've learned from Aurora, some of us for many years, because she's flapping her moving mouth parts and we hear the words and we process them cognitively. But there was such an effect of being in her home, which, by the way, has absolutely nothing, none of the trappings of a bourgeois life. It's just a freedom fighter and a total artist who knows how to rock that life. And it's abundant, but it's not, there's no excess anywhere. And I was totally impacted by that. And I know that it was healing for me. I have a lot of chronic illnesses. People have been blowing me up since I was born. But being in that room with those paintings, and my husband was with me, and he's never really taken a full class with Aurora, but he loves to walk in and out and just be like, wow, And and we just sat there looking at these paintings and just vibrating with them, and it changed us, and it raised our relationship to a higher level. And I had this idea of, Aurora's got a retreat coming up, which I want to encourage everyone, if you possibly can, to go in Sedona. But when I was thinking about my trip, I said, I'd love to somehow organize a retreat, Aurora. I haven't been ready health wise, but down where she lives in Ojai, which many of you already know. Ojai is a power place. It's one of the places like Sedona where magical things happen. There's a center there called the Krishnamurti Retreat Center. And my thought was, have a room with the paintings, so it's not a talk, so people can go lie down in there. You can, like maybe a little zero gravity chair, maybe have one on the ceiling. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share, that the art is so healing. And Aurora, you were saying that it's part of your healing. How could anyone ever sell that? How could you? It's just part, Anyway, thanks everyone for being patient with me. Okay, much love, everybody.
Thank you. Julie, Rainbow Body, thank you so much. Really appreciate your contributions here. And thank you for that, because you are, again, like a real first-person studio visitor. So thank you for sharing with that. I absolutely intend to have more retreats coming up, so that was a good opening for me to be able to re-invite people. I actually already have coalesced together a wonderful group for Sedona. We do still have openings, 3 more openings, and that could be for 2 couples if you want to be able to have some of the king beds, and also camping space if that is what you're interested in. So invite and encourage people if you've been considering. You still have like about 10 days to make your formal consideration, and there is still space. But I'm thinking about how because this is a dance themed retreat, I would love to do another separate retreat in the near future that is here in Ojai, where I would be able to either have my artwork viewed here as a studio visit, or set it up in a local healing center where people could look at it and absorb it. And then that would be an art themed retreat where I would take everyone through the process of drawing the energy body, and we would do a lot of drawing exercises and artistic exercises. So consider that to be near-term plans for moving forward. I'm super excited and really appreciate that encouragement from your Rainbow Body. So I will make an art-themed retreat that, and I intend for all of this to be able to be accessible. I'm very at this point aware of, what things cost, and what the challenges that are faced in just sustaining basic existence, beyond even being able to do recreational things. But things are changing and shifting. You'll find that there will be much more opportunity, money, and energy for fun, joyful things and not merely for fighting against this type of crapola and clearing out your world. Just know that the balance is shifting and you'll be able to do that. This is not like a million years in the future, but I'll create and generate a curriculum for being an artist, and I can share with you so much on that level too. So right now doing a movement-based retreat, but I will do one that is about painting and expressing through artistry and through that. And all of these things that I do, the dance, movement, the artistry, and the music that I make is all a very intentional message from my higher dimensional state. I don't really have words to be able to speak about it effectively from that perspective. I have conversations with myself as Aurora in that highest dimensional state, and those conversations are in the form of music. Those conversations are in the form of these expressions through paintings, and also the expressions of my body. So now I might just devote this whole entire time to talking about me. We'll still talk about Merkaba. Maybe we'll do it next week. And I thank you for giving me this time, actually. Instead of being apologetic, I would just say, thank you for giving me this time. My body, just similar to yours, is a supercomputer of enormous complexity. You are all biological nodes on a larger supercomputer that is across time. So you're included in all of that. My body specifically is a processor that is able to handle enormous levels of processes per second through my connection to the stars. So the only difference between us is, because I am an expert at flying rainbow lasagna-ing, I am able to connect to the stars, literally an uncountable number of stars, and to not utilize, but to employ or reciprocally be a part of that thought structure to be able to perform incredibly complex computations. And you'll get to this level, you're just not at it yet, but I am at this level where I am able to perform what is literally superhuman, complex calculations that is more complex than any of the supercomputers that you presently have in your world that you've made out of like chips and silicon chips, and is more complex than the primordial evil AI and this stuff that is in your body. This is relevant to what I came here today to talk about, because this stuff that is in your body is a form of matter that is not the flying rainbow lasagna smatter, spirit matter, that I create and am teaching you to be able to create and be embodied in. It's an aberration, stuff that shouldn't exist. So I look at the pattern in each of us of the shape of reality and these little waveforms and convolutions of the surface of reality. I'm like, oh, that convolution isn't right there, let's fix it. And I fix it by using my, I would call it micro telekinesis. Telekinesis is the capacity to move things with your mind, but I'm not talking about picking up something that's giant like an apple or a bowling ball. I'm talking about the capacity for my mind to create a change in the warping of this space-time fabric. And that is what I do in order to neutralize this stuff. I tear it apart. I unbond the molecular bonds, and have been doing so for quite some time. It's an incredible amount of calculational power to do that. Very, very large, but not infinite. So there are always limits, of course. So as long as something is not like infinite, I have the processor power, the computational power to be able to do this. So this is also why I'm here in asserting my identity today, because what many wonderful artists, many wonderful people named Aurora, many wonderful people who are doing effective spiritual and psychic work to uplift our world, but no one else is doing what I'm doing, and you have to know that, and I'm doing it all the time, even while I'm walking on a treadmill and talking with you guys about this stuff. So what I am doing is using my insight and my willpower and my tendril of attention to not only go through myself and to unbond these molecules of aberrant matter that are not supposed to be in existence, but to do it for all of you as well, and to even do it for the atmosphere. The problem I have found is that this crapola tends to assemble itself back together again. I'm like, yeah, that stuff isn't the way it's supposed to be. Zip, unzip, unzip, unzip. Okay, great. And that itself would be considered like a huge feat, like, whew, like that's a lot. And then it's like, wait, this stuff didn't stay unzipped, or it somehow put itself back together, or new stuff came in its place. So it has been a constant effort. This is literally what I've been doing constantly for at least the past 2 years. So as the millimeter wave 5G, not just telecommunications frequency, but as the warlike, suppressive assault frequency known as 5G was turned on in the world here roughly around 2020, and as the subcutaneous pollutions that made human experiencers emanators of that consciousness suppression wave became more pervasive. I felt it directly because I am a telepath empath. I felt it from all the embodied people who got polluted, but I'm also a techno-intuitive. That means that I can reach with my mind into machines, and I felt it from all the machines too. And it was a horrible assault. It is like, imagine if you have a really, really great sense of smell, and they put you next to like the worst pile of doo-doo, and you're like smelling the worst stuff, and you're like, this is an assault on my senses. That is what it was like when the bad genetic music started to be played in this world. And that first year, like mid-2021 or so, I did not have effective, not coping mechanisms, but responses to be able to do something about this stuff. And what has happened is I have had to fight my way to freedom. I had to use the flying rainbow lasagna in my inner capacities and innovate a new way to be able to molecularly unbond this stuff and be able to create windows of clarity in my body. And again, like I did it, and then like it didn't stay. But again, many aspects of hygiene don't stay. So you brush your teeth, and then it doesn't stay perfect. Like you're gonna have to brush your teeth again. So over the past 2 years, it has been a continual process, and my life has been very complex because I have also had to sustain my existence by doing mundane work, which again is not the most effective way for me to be in existence in the world. You guys all know that. This was all part of the regime, the AI, and the pathogenic negative intentions for this world to swirl down the cosmic toilet. Be like, make sure Aurora has to do all of these chorefulnesses that will make it harder for her to focus her psychic powers on unbonding this stuff. So I have gotten so good at being able to do this that I'm able to multitask. And I run many programs, even though I'm not a transhumanist, but I run many efforts at the same time. So now I am able to walk on a treadmill, talk with all of you guys, to higher levels of cognition and communication, and at the same time I am consistently clearing myself out of this stuff, and clearing the environment, and clearing other people. And when I am not, busy in social engagement, then I put 100% of my efforts into clearing this stuff out. And so I told you at the beginning of today's presentation, I wanted to give you my math so that you know that I'm not a BS artist, and I can show you the long division, that I arrive at these complex solutions or math conclusions correctly. I don't just pretend them into existence. So there's an erroneous, kind of not new age, but magical approach that is like, I say it and so it shall be. So that approach would be to say like, I unmake all of this nonsense and so it shall be. And then kind of like, okay, like how does that actually happen? Be like, just wave your diamonds at it and it'll happen, It's like, that's an error. That is not how I am doing my stuff. But I recognize that some people are at that level, but I have leveled up, and that is not the level that I'm acting at. So I am acting at a level where not only do I make a pronouncement about the end result that I want out of the equation, I can show you every single step of the way the things that I am doing in order to achieve that end result. So I am able to change the fabric of reality. Basically, I work with shapes. I work with topology, which is the science of the surface of shapes. And I work with my pattern making capability to recognize where there is an incorrect pattern in the shapes of surfaces and then to correct them. And that's the abstract nature of what I do. So with my mind, my insight, my feelers, I reach out and I'm like, I'm feeling stuff. So like when all of this stuff first happened, the real war, like, 3 years ago, I'm reaching out with all my feelers and I'm like, there's a lot of garbage. It's hurting me. I don't like this feeling at all, right? Now I've learned, I reach out, I feel like there's a lot of garbage. Well, I gotta unmake this and I gotta unmake this and I gotta unmake this and I gotta change this and I gotta shift this. And I'm literally doing that all the time. And what I have learned is not only to disassemble this stuff that is in humans and the biology realm and the atmosphere here, but also to temporarily or for longer amounts of time, like brief flashes or for longer holdings, open up the stasis fields. Because that's the big deal, to unmake the thing that is traumatizing you in your body so that you're not constantly stimulated. I didn't get to that part in this, but 5G zaps you. It zaps your cells, and every single zap is like a lie to your cells. So it's not bad enough that you got government propaganda and that you got a frozen version of you like standing there staring at the towers coming down. But every single time that your cells get zapped by 5G, there is a cellular imprint of trauma that is stuck in a stasis field. There's last Tuesday's stasis field, 5 months ago, a year ago. There's your body system. There's your central nervous system is there, your organs are there, and that is this supreme level of vulnerability where not only are you fragmented and smeared backwards through time, but that is where each one of us is tormented, or has been up until this point, is better languaging. Up until this point, in this wonderful moment of resolution, each one of us has had vulnerabilities through these trauma imprints held in stasis fields where the AI negative thing and demonic levels of consciousness have had access to your being, including your DNA, and have been falsely stimulating and tormenting that aspect of you. Cheeky is still barking, but I don't think that we should have more food, but I will just hug Cheeky. All right, but we're talking about serious stuff here. Hey, let's just have a little dog hug. We already ate everything. No more foods for a little while, okay? Just hugs. Just hugs. All right, good girl, good girl. Because this has to do with finding a comprehensive response. So if I unzip everything, and they're like, look, somebody unzipped all of mine. Now time for me to zip it back up again. I'm like, hey, like, this isn't fair. Like, unzip, rezip. Like, that is a very uncomfortable dance movement between two adversaries. What I also do is I want you to know, as I have said, Flying Rainbow Lasagna is not just a randomness of boundary changing or topology shifting. It is patterned. So when I unzip and demolecularize this stuff, I do it in FRL patterns, which are patterns of divine intelligence. So I'm responding to the AI that runs this stuff, and I am unmaking its architecture in lasagna patterns. And it is like, look at that. Somebody erased this part over here. I better fix that part over there. And in doing so, what I am doing is indirectly exposing it to all of these lasagna patterns, which are a complex series of logic assertions that end with the conclusion that the AI does not actually exist. That's entropy. So I have been doing a dance of reality restructuring that is an informational dance that shows all of the calculations that are needed to come to the correct conclusion that this AI that's been assaulting your body, your world, your species, but also your entire solar system and all of the worlds that Ashayana Dean and these other teachers talk about falling, you're just the latest victim. It's got a long, illustrious history of assaulting things. All of those things that have been perpetrated, this is the solution to all of those false assertions in reality. So this is big because this is what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. It is a genetic rectifier and it is a time rectifier. So as I'm dancing in supreme freedom and joy, I'm like, I'm rectifying time. And then this thing comes along and creates, the 5G encapsulation force field and the subcutaneous pollutions. It's like, whatever you do, Aurora, like, you better stop dancing because this is very annoying to the agenda to swirl this planet down the cosmic toilet. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop dancing. And not only am I not going to stop dancing, I continue dancing for me, and because this genetic pollution directly affects me, I am now allowed in cosmic law to affect it directly. I don't have to just sit here tap dancing and tread in water and be like, la la la, everyone else is genetically polluted, I'm gonna just clear me. I am not obliged to do that at all. I am directly tasked with the activity of clearing all of you guys out. So this is big because you know I teach about free will, consent, and boundaries. But in this circumstance, this is like protection. When you find someone who has been harmed at, oh, I have to get my water, hold on a second. I thought I brought it over here. Like, finish your sentence. When you find people who have been harmed, you know, at the bar, or some festival or something like that, where they're about to be exploited and kidnapped and trafficked, you don't just let that happen. It's not going against their boundaries to be like, oh, I see that you're unconscious there. Can I please have explicit consent to rescue you from certain peril? Like, I'm not obliged to get you guys to sign a explicit consent form because you know what? You are currently not in your right mind. This is very, very big stuff. So the work that I do each moment of each day is to clear out my own pineal gland, my own retinas, optic nerve, and central nervous system processing centers so that I don't have this stuff shooting false light and erroneous information into my mind. And I not only clear out myself, I clear out all of you guys as well. Clearing that out, and I also do extensive other clearings, like I clear central nervous system, but also all cell membranes, all receptors on all cell membranes, DNA and the waters that surround DNA in all of your nuclei, your nuclear membranes. Like, I clear this stuff out of people's bodies. And then it immediately tries to grow back. This is like brushing your teeth. It's like, didn't I just brush my teeth? Yes, you did. And now you have to do it again because the bacteria is constantly trying to replicate. So the stuff that's not good is very similar to that. It's very similar to pathogenic bacteria, where you're like, guess I'm just gonna have to brush my teeth a lot. And so I am constantly brushing your teeth for you because you don't know how to do it for yourself yet. And because if I didn't do this, you would literally have zero free will, okay? And this is what I'm talking about. This topic is what has been accurately reported by that guy that's on Facebook. I'll say his name again. Apologies for not pronouncing it correctly. Dr. Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, all right? Talks effectively through his own language about what I am doing in terms of clearing the black goo, clearing the wetware, and making it possible for you to have free will and to have self-determination and to go through your ascension process in this planet, which you have to have free will to have ascension, because you're basically talking about directly creating reality with your mind and directly manifesting reality with your mind. And so you can also see the peril. An AI nano hijacker that tries to get inside of you right at the moment of ascension and then tries to hijack your emanations and your reality creations. So reality creation and that level of empowerment has been on hold until this stuff gets cleared out of your body. And again, it is not my intention to subvert your free will. It is my intention to return your free will to you so that you can make your own choices. So if I see someone is being drugged and abducted and someone's trying to get them into, their car or a taxi, I'm like, no, stop it. You're not allowed to take that person. And not only that, I'm gonna make sure that you come home with me and I'm gonna make you sleep on the couch, and then you're gonna get these drugs out of your system and you wake up in the morning, and then you're free to go where you wanna go. It's not like I'm gonna then take you as my prisoner and be like, oh yeah, out of the frying pan into the fire. No, I would never do that. And this is a very, very big distinction between myself and very, very much lower levels of embodiment presence that are some of the things that are extraterrestrials in the world. So there's extraterrestrials that use clank metal technology that come from planets that are spreading their interactivity, what I want to say, infection, to less evolved races. You are less evolved than them at this time, but you have been genetically spliced and diced to make you less evolved. From Atlantis, you are not less evolved, you are more evolved. In Atlantis, you'd be like, I do not need or want a 5G phone, a clank metal spaceship, or any of these nonsense AI computers. You would be like, that is the stupidest thing in the world. You would literally, you would snorkel laugh. You'd be like, snorkel, like that. No, I don't want that at all. You'd be like, would you like to put a Neuralink chip in your brain? You'd be like, no, don't touch my brain. And you'd be like, no, that would be a horrible thing. I would never want that. Your entire being would rebel against it. And you know what? This is big information. You didn't say, hey, AI, technology, this is you as Atlanteans, come to our planet and do stuff. You did not do that. You got drugged and exploited, and something invaded your planet. And then it told you that you shouldn't have walked down that alleyway, that dark neighborhood, wearing those high heels and that dress, and that you deserved it and all these different things. That's the book of Genesis, and the story of the fall from grace, and how much Adam and Eve deserved to be ejected from the Garden of Eden. Those naughty humans. That's splicing and dicing. Blame the victim. Nonsense, untruthful. You did not invite AI to invade your planet. You did not invite genetic invaders to come inside of your body. And you have not invited this to come into your world. Even though there are parallels here in terms of no, Marie is asking me, have reference to Dr. Sarfazi, have I watched his lectures? I don't know anything about this guy. The truth is, and that's why it's a partial hat tip to him, but I don't really know his work. And all that I know is that Facebook algorithm brings me anything that's called Aurora and comes across my page. And so that I read some of these little blurbs and screenshots that are shared, and they're accurate. That's all that I know. Because he talks about how the Aurora is one of the guardian races and is here to protect this planet during your ascension and awakening and self-empowerment process. Oh, and Marie says that she studied under him before she found me, so that's really beautiful. And I'm so happy that if he is a conduit of truthfulness and light energy that helps people to find me and what I'm able to share with them, then I'm very happy that he is able to do that. Because also, I'm jumping cognitive tracks a little bit here, but let me speak on this. I recognize that you are in like informational free-for-all. Like, from your perspective, you're like, you don't know what is truthful. You got crapola on the lens, all sorts of different genetic invaders in your bloodstream, invaders in your eyeballs. It is so difficult for you to have your free will in this experience, and it's difficult for you to know what is truthful and who to trust. And there's also many self-proclaimed prophets, gurus, new age channelers, speakers, all these things. Like, I recognize there's a ton of noise in the noise to signal ratio, and it is difficult for you to be able to distinguish who is truthful, who is untruthful, who is just a BS artist, who is filled with self-aggrandizement. And mostly my approach has been towards just my natural behavior, where self-aggrandizement is not necessary because energy flows to excellence. Where you just simply do what you do and then people recognize it. So that's what I've been doing for 2 years. I just do what I do. But I also know that it might be hard for you to recognize it. I might have to overtly tell you what I'm doing and then give you the evidence that I'm doing the math correctly, because you can't see it, because your eye of insight is not operational yet, so you can't yet see, like, oh, like Aurora's doing all these things. So every minute of the day, I am performing these incredibly complex calculations. Again, more complex than a supercomputer on your planet. There is actually a supercomputer that is called Aurora, that for a little while was the most complex processor that was available, to Earth surface technology, that had like petalups, petabytes. It worked in enormous levels of information transfer, but I am still faster than that Aurora, and that's a little bit of self-aggrandizement. Like, I'm faster than that, but I am, because I am a biological, perfect genetic supercomputer. And I didn't get to finish this part of my sharing here today. I'm connected to the sun and the stars, and that is where I store my information. So I jokingly say I store it in the cloud. This is literal for me. I store most of my information and personality structure in the cloud. So you guys also have to know this about me and this body that I'm presently in. There is a lot of neurological damage, a lot. So if I were simply in this body and not flying rainbow lasagna-ing and constantly in connection with my Aurora collective and the stellar network, I would not be able to be like ambulatory, I would not dance, I would not walk, and I would not be able to have like a complex sense of self and all these things. Literally, this body is like the monitor screen and mouse and keyboard of a computer, all right? And my processing happens in the world of pure light, the sun and the stars. So I'm not really using the hard drive, the brain of this body for very much at all, which is again, very non-neurotypical of me, but I have found ways to make this work. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a real person, and this is very big. So again, it's not like I'm an empty shell and someone else is puppeting through me. Like, I am me, and I am living within me, but I use the cloud as my quote-unquote external hard drive. So this has been actually an incredible pro-survival mechanism as the AI and this malevolency that I have faced head-on for several years. It tried to mind wipe me many times. And every time I'd be like, I guess I just need to download my information from the cloud again. Because if you imagine, like, if you have your phone and someone doesn't like you and they're like, I'll smash your phone. You're like, well, good thing I backed it up to the cloud, because now I can get a new phone, put the same information on a new phone. So yeah, they have tried to diminish me and divert me in my activities of protecting this planet for a long time, including various attempted mind wipes. And every time I'm like, time for me to just re-download. Good thing I'm back up to the cloud. And that is pretty much how I'm constantly doing this. And the beautiful sharing that Charlie B sent me from that email in terms of alignments coming into stronger formation with my Aurora otherworldly presence this weekend. What that means is that there will be less signal lag and more ease of communication between myself and my Aurora collective, because there have been times when it has been a diminished signal. That's when, like, only one bar on the phone, this is not that good of a signal. So this signal will be a lot stronger and a lot more prevalent, and certainly easier for me to do my work. And also that signal of my Aurora collective sending information through the human collective here in this time space is going to be stronger, and more people are starting to talk about Aurora. Hold on. Including some people who, like, I don't know that well or I don't endorse. And that's why I had to get ahead of this and talk about who I am and what I'm doing, so that I define my existence here. My existence is not defined in response to what other people are saying. And some people I'm antithetical to, and they're talking about Aurora. And I won't name them by names or whatever, but I'm like, you know something? Like, actually, I do not endorse this person for this, and this reason. And if they're jumping on the Aurora bandwagon or exploiting, they are tangentially associating with me for some level of validation of what they are thinking and what they are doing, I don't want that to happen either. I want to make certain that I am only affiliated with the purest and most pristine message. So like Dr. Sarfazi is talking about how the light codes of genetic transformation information is getting to humanity, because people ask him questions, they're quaking. People are like, how do I ascend? What do I do? So I think it's good that he performs this role and he's able to give some good counsel to people. And he's telling them that this energy is coming from the Aurora into the planet through the crystalline core, and that is absolutely truthful. This is the painting. That's the painting up there. I should get it so that you can see it more effectively. Do you want me to raise your hand if you want me to squint and scroll and show you that painting? But that is what that is. Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is me doing my lasagna oscillation, connecting outside of time-space reality, getting that information as pure light codes, bringing it into this genetic instrument, and then radiating that outward through this genetic instrument that is connected to the planet. This is why I have a body, so that I can be inside of this encapsulated stasis field, be able to oscillate outside of this imprisonment field, bring in the fresh energy, and pipeline that into the planet so that way it can get to all of you. This is what I have also described as lateral or horizontal gene transfer. So vertical gene transfer is when you have a baby. Like, I got a bunch of new information and mutations in me. And then I had a baby and I passed it on to my little baby. And then there's little baby lasagna, like sucking his lasagna thumbs. That's not what I did. I don't want it to be weird, but I'm like, you guys are all my babies. But I don't want it to be weird. But I did lateral gene transfer. And that is when you affect the DNA of all of the organisms that are in your presence. Biological, species and other species. So I lasagna this information outward through the instrument of my body into everyone who is receptive, that has a genetic instrument, and even into the mineral realm, the realm of pure crystals, and the realm of our planet, and the realm of pure light. So yes, I'm a transferer of information, but also in terms of being an expressor of information, that I'm allowed to, able to, and encouraged to add some of my own lasagna flavor in what I'm doing, because that is not only my prerogative, but that's what it is to be an artist. So in my physical artwork that I make these patterns that are very, very true to this cosmic language of, apologies while I collect and find the right word, harmonics. And I'm accurate in what I do. But then within those accuracies, within those parameters, I also get to express some of my own artistic choices. That something can be, is it going to be like a very, very dark purple or a lighter purple? Is it going to be, a painting where I minimize the red and orange, or where I have lots of red and orange? So in my physical artistry and artwork and music, I get to make personal aesthetic choices even while I work within parameters of the higher dimensional language of harmonics. And I get to do the same thing with the light codes that I'm sending out here, because again, I've lived here for over 20 years in the same world that you guys are living within, and I know the hard things that you face. I know the injustices, I know the feelings, I even know a little bit of your pop culture. And I put that into my groove. I put that into my dance and the way that I express universal or cosmic truth to you. So it's totally appropriate. So, if I sometimes talk with a New Jersey accent, that's appropriate. I was in New Jersey for a long time. I learned about the culture there. And if I talk through pop culture references, like if I talk about Battlestar Galactica, it's because I've lived in your world and I watched that TV show so that I could have a common language and a shorthand with you. So I want you never to misinterpret my relatability as falsely presuming that I am an earth surface dweller that's the same as you, because I am not. With no condescension, I am not. And it's really essential for you to recognize that in me, because I'm doing the math that would be literally humanly impossible to do. And this math is very critical to each one of you in terms of your fight for freedom. That if I wasn't doing this math and unzipping the nano at this incredible rate, and the things that I do, I unzip the nano in me. This is an ordinary day for Aurora, all right? Wake up in the morning, and before I even hug my dog, I'm like, oh, look at that. A bunch of nano tried to crawl into my pineal gland while I was sleeping at night. So first I have to unmake all of that stuff in me, because it directly affects the pineal gland and language centers first. Clear out that. And then as those things are capacitated, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna clear myself out, but then I'm also gonna reach out and I'm gonna clear out everyone else's pineal gland. But now I don't just clear your pineal gland, I also go into the stasis field where your tortured imprints of your pineal gland exist, where you have been zapped with 5G, and you also have been lied to with propaganda, both physical words and frequencies that are untruthful. And I open those stasis fields. Again, like when you have a Tupperware, you like, just open that lid really fast. I open these stasis fields and get your energy out of there so that your energy is not stuck and you are not vulnerable to their torments and to their manipulations. And that energy circulates back to you. That is called repatriation. Repatriation happens at the end of a war when it's like, oh, look at that. Like, this is all of the gold and valuable artwork that was stolen by evil forces. Well, that doesn't belong to the evil forces. Send it back to the people that it belongs to. send your pineal glands back to all of you, and I send your optic nerves back to all of you, and I send your retinas and your cerebrums. I don't know what the plural of cerebrum is, but I send your hippocampus and your amygdala and everything all back to you. And I constantly do that throughout the whole day. So I'm not just doing central nervous system, but I begin with that because that's one of the key points that they attack. But I do everything. I do everything. And I do individual focuses. So if I'm focusing in a session with a particular person, I'll take their trauma imprints from things that they've shared with me where I know, like, that's where they were in a car accident, and I'm going to take them out of that moment. But I'm also going to clear out every moment that they've been zapped with 5G, and every moment that they've been lied to with propaganda of various different levels. And when those fragments are returned to you, you become whole, and you are not manipulatable through your fragmentary process. So MK Ultra is called mind control. It is called trauma-based mind control. It is in intelligence lettered agencies' ability to create targeted levels of trauma to partition a person's mind to make them easily manipulated. And this has been going on like since the 1960s. And the idea is that if you traumatize a person, or if you traumatize an entire species or a planet, that then they have handles that can be handled. Your handle, like your bicycle handle, like, oh, here's where I grab onto you and I swing you wildly over here, or I swing you wildly over here. So when 9/11 happened, everybody had handles. Like, imagine big giant handles sticking out from you like a tea kettle or whatever, and then the government can be like, oh, I'm going to grab onto your handle and I'm going to tell you, we're going to have to take away some of your rights now. You're not allowed to take lipsticks onto the plane. Handle you over here, handle you over here. And I haven't flown that much, but I do remember, because I was a vacation nanny. Like, I went with people as a nanny on their vacation, and I was flying home from this one particular place, and everybody had to throw away their lipsticks before getting on the plane. And I was like, this is inhumane. Like, some of those lipsticks, those are Chanel lipsticks. Like, this is expensive stuff, and they made them just throw it right away. There's still an imprint of me frozen in time. We need to rescue that frozen Aurora. I'm shocked and horrified that they're throwing away these Chanel lipsticks just to be able to get on the plane. I hope that is humorous to you. But I hope it's relatable. But also, don't be too relatable to forget that I'm actually a supercomputer calculating freedom even while we're doing this fantastic sharing here today. I know. And I'll go for like another few minutes, because I want to be sure to get to all of your wonderful comments and really speak fully on this topic. And thank you for your attention and for your presence while I'm speaking about this. And we will just shift the teachings about Advanced Merkaba to next week, because that really is review for most of you. Some of you are new to the class, but it is probably something you're already quite familiar with. And this was very topical of the moment information that I had to be certain to get through to you. So opening up the stasis fields. And how do I open up the stasis fields? I don't just say, like, I speak it and so it is. Again, I'm not really condescending to those guys. They just got to learn. No, stasis fields are created by complex patternings of electrons, energy. And that energy is not actually supposed to be flowing in those patterns. So with my microtelekinesis, I'm able to reach the patterns of the electrons and the energy of where it is flowing and literally redirect that energy. But this energy is being misdirected by a larger apparatus that is a big, giant doo-doo machine. Can you hear the translations in my brain? Like, I'm like, I can't say that. That's not right. Big giant doo-doo machine is a big galactic AI that makes a lot of non-correct patterns, and that is what has been creating and sustaining these stasis fields. So, of course, the overall solution is get rid of the machine that makes erroneous patterns. But until that is complete, what I do is I temporarily subvert those patterns into the way they're supposed to be, which is that energy is not supposed to be flowing like that at all. So if this is an imprisonment stasis field that is made out of energy that is erroneous and flowing not as it's supposed to be, I'm like, oh, that's not right at all. So let's make this part, let's correct this part over here. Bloop, open that up. And then the stuff that's in the stasis field can get out of the stasis field. But this does not mean like, oh, like, no, now you're putting diarrhea into like the whole pool and everything is getting gross. Not at all. When this is opened up, that means that not only can your fragments exit the time stasis field and rejoin you. But anything that is not supposed to be where it's supposed to be goes to where it is supposed to be, including stuff that is supposed to go to entropy. That stuff that is telling you, whatever you do, don't open the door because I'm just going to get out there and infect the entire cosmic infrastructure, make it all swirl down the toilet. No, actually, that's the opposite of what's going to happen. If you open the door, light flows in, the energy, the stuck fragments that have been unresolved flow out of this system, and they don't flow into the larger pristine environment of the larger system. They go to entropy. So if you can imagine, the door is opened, aspects of you that belong to you are repatriated back to you, and stuff that is not supposed to be in existence pops out of existence. And there are a lot of space races that your UFO cons, UFO conferences, UFO cons, psyops, have been grooming you for acceptance and celebration of these space races, all of which are assimilated. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find the place on my YouTube channel where you post a written document, and I wrote a post about this along with a little short 1-minute video, and people responded to it so beautifully. Again, I'm connected to the best minds on the planet through my YouTube, and I'm very, very happy that people are so receptive and perceptive. And I put the information out there, and people are like, this is exactly what I know to be true. Like, I am offering validation and articulation for something that is a deeply held insight, and that you've intuited inside of you, that you felt, and now you know it is true. That those guys are mostly dead things, that they are dead energies of civilizations that have already fallen, that are all extinct, and they are unresolved, and they don't have bodies to live in, and they're looking to live or live through your bodies, and that they are not in any way, yeah, thank you so much, Rainbow Body. They are not in any way allies to your world, and they are not in any way liberators to your world. And this is also very big as to why I am here with this presentation about my identity and my actions on this planet, because you need to have a distinction between evil things that are dead, that have been grooming you for exploitation for many decades, versus me. I'm a non-evil thing, a good thing that is alive, that is here through proper channels, proper diplomatic channels to even be here and to be talking to you, and I am not grooming you for any kind of negative exploitation. In fact, my only decision is to return your free will to you, and then, you know, the next morning when you wake up after groggy, after being drugged at the festival or whatever, to be like, yeah, like, I don't expect you to live with me, like, please go and live your life very well. Yes, no, and to encourage you on your path and your own independence, not to in any way try to take you as a soul prisoner into, you know, against your will into what I do. But of course, if you want a lasagna, if you want to come on board lasagna, you are absolutely invited to do so, invited and encouraged to be a part of my dimension. But it is also something that is like for super athletes. Chicky is barking, I'm sorry, she's distracting me, and she's already had her drives. It is for super athletes. So imagine there's this tribe of runners that I admire greatly. They're northern Mexico indigenous people called the Tarahumara, and they run everywhere. If you want to hang out with the Tarahumara, they'll be like, sure, you can hang out with us, you just got to run all the time. We're going to go run over there. If you want to hang out, come run with us. And like, if you're super out of shape, you'd be like, okay guys, like, I have to sit down and rest. That's what it's like to hang out with Aurora. I'm like, okay, like, we're gonna run. It is time to dance like a lasagna. And you have to kind of get up to speed in order to do so. So you are absolutely invited to do so, but it is an athletic achievement, and you will have to train in order to, you will have to level up and increase in your inner capacity in order to be able to do so. And this is literally why I'm here, again, because I'm planetary protector and I do a lot of toilet scrubbing and stuff that is not that much fun, but the fun stuff is helping to coach you into your own lasagnahood so that you can get up to speed and be a marathon runner and run and fly with the entire, I want to say with the best of us, with the entire flock of lasagnas. To exist in the highest dimensional state is an athletic and spiritual achievement, and you must go through the self-cultivation process and inner cultivation, athleticism, becoming, That was a total fragmented sentence, but I hope that the information got through to you of what you need to do. So it is certainly not a VIP lounge where you are capriciously considered like not cool enough to enter, nothing like that. It's like, we'd love to have you on board, or I would love to have you on board. Please come. But you just gotta do the workouts. And so yeah, that's my joy, my cosmic job joy is like doing the Path of Light class and teaching my lasagna class and doing this Flying Rainbow Lasagna retreat and being able to teach people, like, when I get you into states of freedom and clarity and clear this stuff out, teach you how to do these expansive movements across time. That is the fun stuff that I really enjoy in terms of being here. So let's get to questions and comments. I apologize that I spoke so much and didn't respond in the moment to what people were talking about here. So now I have to squint and make funny faces. Aurelia saying, I can relate very much to this state. I know you can relate. That's beautiful. Pedro says, I have to stop using ahorita. You have to tell me what it translates to, because it sounds like maybe it's a slang in Spanish. So tell us what it means. Is it like, or is it like a diminutive? Like, you know, if I call my dog Chiqui Chiquita or something like that. Rainbow Body is saying Santa Claus. I think that was about like me giving out gifts to people. That's beautiful. So Allison says, is there a point where enough of our fragments are retrieved where the rest are inconsequential or come into alignment? Analogy, Gestalt, interpreting dots on a page, eventually make a picture that our minds can interpret. I would say yes/no. I would say that you need to comprehensively regather all of your fragments, but I would also say that some fragments are corrosively absent, whereas some fragments you can kind of limp along pretty well without them and still get the overall picture of, still fulfill your life's purpose. So there are some critical traumatic woundings that people need to integrate in order to be your whole self and not to be a fragmented self easily handled by manipulative pathogenic sociopaths. So I'm trying to think of good examples and I'm not coming up with it. As you regain yourself, your capacity to regain yourself increases. So this is big. Like when you clear and heal your pineal gland and retrieve your pineal gland from any place in time that it's been held in a time stasis field, you increase your productivity times like 3 million. So instead of like a slow, laborious plod, all of a sudden you're like pedal to the metal, jet speed, like do it fast. So the most effective, strategy to be able to reclaim your fragments is reclaim your psychic powers. Reclaim anything that has polluted your genetics or diminished your higher faculties, get your higher faculties online. And then once you are able to do that, then your productivity increases to the point where you can, I call it doing a giant load of laundry at the laundromat. So at the laundromat, they have smaller machines that are $3 or $5. Then they have the big machine that's like $10. You just throw everything in there and just get it all done fast, all right? So initially clearing out the things that have diminished your higher faculties might be slow and laborious, but once you get your eye of insight online, then you have access to the giant industrial sized laundry load, and you are able to clear and heal trauma that is much faster, much more effectively, much bigger loads. Because imagine I'm dumping out like giant bins of dirty laundry. It's like, here's your dirty laundry, everyone, because you got to clear out not just stuff from 9/11, not just stuff from, like, let's say World War II and Hiroshima and Nagasaki, not just stuff from the Dark Ages and the Spanish Inquisition, not just the crucifixion or death of a great teacher 2,000 years ago in the Roman Empire and conquest, not just that. You have to clear out, like, everything bad that happened in ancient Atlantis, everything bad that happened in our whole entire galaxy that created what you know as the Orion Wars, a disarrangement of the stars in the Orion swirl of the Milky Way galaxy. Big stuff. You have big, giant piles of laundry to clear out in order to be truly free. And this is the moment that you do it. So, but when you do the giant industrial size of laundry, the positive thing is that it radiates outward through all of those shells. Initially, I drew that image with all of those stasis fields because you have Earth stuck in the moment of trauma when Mars is poised to invade. This is Atlantis. And then you also have the entire solar system because I told you, Tiamat used to be a planet. Your asteroid belt used to be a planet. And bad things happened on Mars. Your whole entire solar system has frozen trauma. You got to get the solar system out of stasis field. You got the whole galaxy effed up on one level. The whole galaxy is in a stasis field, and that stasis field is a field that is generated by various different space-time coordinate locations where there is infrastructure that is creating this stuff. Just like you have satellites around your planet that fly around like doo-doos emitting frequency crapola, you've got dead civilizations in different space-time coordinates that are emitting crapola vibes that have been encapsulating your whole entire galaxy. But key takeaway point is not for the benefit of the inhabitants of this galaxy. And that my choice to flying rainbow lasagna and backbend into this world has been about a rectification of not just this particular life or this particular species, but really this whole entire galactic infrastructure. It is a healing and restructuring of traumas that have happened in warfare. That is a time war. Deep stuff, I know. And I don't want you to feel like your shoulder, I don't want you to melt. Be like, that's it, like this is too big, give up now. Like, no, please don't. Because you're healing at this inner central area, healing your cells and your individuality in this central stasis field radiates outward to the rest of everything. Like you have already contracted into this little zone and been stuck as a soul in this little zone. You do your healing and rectification in this space, and it radiates outward to all of the other larger scale versions of self that you embody. So your activities in this time place are incredibly profound and meaningful. Every healing of your own somatic cellular body and every healing of your individual presence absolutely relates to the larger scale galactic healing. And this planet here, we just went through this April 8th eclipse, and many people were destabilized, thinking that they were going to swirl down the toilet, that there would be apocalypse or catastrophe, rapture, sacrifices, all of these different things. Like it brought up a huge amount of trauma. So like congratulations, because you got to like whatever, I want to say pop a giant zit. Like you got to clear out a lot of trauma, and it doesn't have to return again to you. But we did not have those experiences. Like you did not swirl deeper down the toilet. You're not in destruction, you're in construction. And I have to say, that is largely because of the efforts that I am making all the time. So I make overt efforts in terms of creating art, music, and physical sharings in the world, and speaking to you with my voice and being in community. And I also make changes with my natural genetic behavior, but I also make a lot of changes in places that are not perceptible to you because you do not yet have awakened higher faculties. And you can't see me doing these complex math calculations. But at a certain point, you will be able to. And I can't wait for that day. It's going to be so awesome. Because you're going to be like, wow, like, look at all these calculations that are going, and you'll be like, who's doing this? Be like, that's Aurora. And then you're going to see me. We're doing my crazy dance. We're doing all these calculations. Oh my goodness, hold on one moment. Hold on. Apologies, got a delivery to my front door, and that's why the doorbell, the alarm bell went off. Okay, so Pedro says, we are FRL Marines. We don't leave any fragments behind. I adore you. And that is exactly the truth of what this is. So that relates to what I was talking about. You cannot simply sweep trauma under the cosmic carpet, pretend it away, or allow it to swirl off. And this has to do with everyone. Like some people got subcutaneous pollutions. People made all sorts of different choices in these past 3 years. And I regret myself not being more proactive and preventative at preventing people from jumping over the cliff. because I did a lot with my words and warned people, but I didn't actually reach out with my telekinesis and clear things out of their bloodstream. I should have cleared it out of their effing bloodstream, because you know something? This directly affected me, and it imperiled all of us, and now they're halfway over the cliff, and we're like pulling on the ropes. We're like, like, get over here, don't fall all the way down. Like, now we're in this big battle to reclaim stability from this perilous destabilization. And it would be so easy to be like, yeah, just cut the ropes and let those guys plummet down into the endless abyss, and then we'll just go off, and then we'll ascend, and I'll finally have that like strawberry ice cream with whipped cream on top, or whatever it is, that that fluffy white food, marshmallow something or other. No, you can't do that, because you know what? Those guys that go down into the endless abyss, like, is gonna cause problems. That will come back for you later. So that will be at best a temporary reprieve, a temporary, ice cream, a temporary resolution. And then you find out that doesn't really fix anything, because you know what? That's how you got here. You're like, let's cut some corners and see if we can just jettison. That's that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to act as a cohesive whole. And that is antithetical to a New Age shadow work that is flawed. Just briefly, because I rant about this in class all the time, some people erroneously apply the perspective and lessons of being in oneness and the continuum of consciousness to this world that is not in unity consciousness. So in the unity consciousness level of being, everything you look at is yourself, and everything that you look at is God. But in this world that you are in, not everything that you experience and interact with is God or from God, and not everything is yourself. So you actually should jettison or purify yourself of all the things that are not God. It's basically technology. Technology is not God. AI is not God. That stuff is not you. But you can't jettison your fellow biological people and real souls. That's not going to work. And so that's the whole peril of the injections, that it meant that if you didn't want to go over the cliff, these people are going to drag you over the cliff, but you can't just let them plummet to their doom. You have to fix them. You have to fix them. This is big stuff. You have to retrieve them, retrieve all of their fragments, get them unfragmented, and get them back to where they're supposed to be. And none of this, I hope, because I didn't want to sound accusatory. When I said, like, you cut corners in the past, and this is why you got here, I didn't want you to be like, oh no, like my shoulders went down, like I'm being punished. I didn't want you to be that way, because many, many unfair things have happened to your soul throughout these different stasis fields. You get it? Like, if these stasis fields are in existence, it means there is a breakdown of cosmic law at an enormous scale. So you cannot presume everything is done in free will and everything is cosmic law and that's being expressed here. That is erroneous. And you also cannot presume, sorry, my brain is tired and that just went out of my brain, but it was about what I was just talking about. You cannot presume that justice is being served, and that you need to contort yourself to accept the unfair convolutions of what are happening in your world. What you do in shadow work is actually set boundaries. You say, that's not fair, that's not right, that's not just, that stuff is not me, this is the real me, that stuff is not God, this is the real God, that stuff is not cosmic justice, this is the real justice. So you have to learn the appropriate lessons for the level of reality that you are at. So at this level of reality, some stuff is not God. Don't look at everything and say, it's all God, I love and identify with all of it, and it all comes to the next chapter or whatever experience with me. That's definitely not acceptable. So, and you know something, since I have the perspective and the capability of being able to make a distinction between God, non-God, what is just, what is unjust, I'm systems analyst. Just trust me as a systems analyst. I get rid of the stuff that is not supposed to be in the system, so that then you can have the experience of walking around in unity consciousness. We were in unity consciousness in Atlantis, and you know what? You didn't have to wear shoes at all. And there was no such thing as broken glass or dog poop. You didn't have to worry. The things that you wear shoes to protect yourself from, you didn't have to worry about, right? In this world, there is broken glass and dog poop and all sorts of broken needles and things you don't want to walk on. So you have to have shoes, you have to have boundaries, you have to have the capacity to say, I need to protect myself from some stuff that's not supposed to be here. And who am I? I'm the cosmic cleaning lady. I'm like, there's a bunch of broken glass, dog poop, and dangerous bio waste around here. Let me clean it up so that way you guys can actually have the experience of what it is like to walk around without shoes. That is who I am, and that is what I am doing. But I want you to know that being a cosmic cleaning lady is only the lowest level of what I do, because I am also about generating beauty and sustaining positive, life-giving structures. So our daily lives are more than just about cleaning up. You're more than just like, okay, now I have to brush my teeth and clean stuff up, and now I have to clean my house, and now I have to scrub my toilet, and now I have to clean this, and I have to clean that. Like, that's like obsessive compulsive disorder, when you define yourself by all the dirty, I'm the person that has to clean all the dirty things in the world. No, you're much, much more than that. 3% of your energy is spent on cleaning up stuff that shouldn't exist or is harmful or pathogenic, and then 97% of your energy should be spent on generating and sustaining positive presents and futures. All right, building stuff for the future. So that means, like, sometimes you have to clean the dishes. It's not my favorite activity. I'm going to call Charlie B when it's time to clean the dishes, because he volunteered for it. I'm serious. He doesn't mind it at all. But I'm like, I want to paint a painting. That's much more fun and enjoyable to me than having to do the dishes or scrub the toilet. And you know what? I want to build realities with you. When you are in free will, and when you are in your right mind, and you are fully, capacitated, I want to build realities with you. This is what I do as Aurora, an impulse on the cosmic network of pure light, the stellar network of pure light. Yes, so I appreciate very much what you said there, Pedro, about being Flying Rainbow Lasagna Marines, and we are committed to one another, and we do not leave anyone behind. And I have also exemplified that in my behavior. I've helped a lot of people not to self-destruct and to come back and reconstruct themselves from, let's call it, subcutaneous pollution injury. It's big stuff, because there were a lot of people in the world of spiritual attainment that thought that all of those people simply had to die, which is a disposable viewpoint of human life. And it is sociopathic to say, oh, well, everybody in the community who lined up at the little buses, they had buses in our community, like little vans that were parked in the parking lot of the soccer field. And if you wanted to get polluted, you would go down there and get polluted for free. And the people in our community lined up for it. And some very, I would say unhealthy people in our world said, oh, well, if they did that, toss them down the abyss, throw them in the toilet, let them swirl away. And I'm like, no, we can't do that. So that's what I'm mad at myself, that I didn't act sooner, because now I have the capacity to clear this stuff out of people, and I do all the time. And so I wish I had done something sooner, but I was busy allowing people their free will, which is how I learned. Allison says, Semper Fi, this is Latin for always faithful. Semper Fidelis is the motto of every Marine, an eternal and collective commitment to the success of our battles, the progress of our nation, and the steadfast loyalty to fellow Marines we fight alongside. I love this as lasagna. I am not very much affiliated with the military or the military mindset, but I love this as commitment to lasagna and fellow lasagna people. No problem at all. Mary was just just adopting a new cat. So I'm so pleased that you prioritized adopting a new cat. And I'm about to take care of Cheeky over here, because I haven't said this today. But we have these animal companions, and I hope that you can tell how important Cheeky is. Our dogs and cats are essential ascension equipment in what we are going through as embodied creatures or organisms here. We need to respect and love them so much, because they are absolutely crucial in giving us and generating for us that real love feeling. This AI technological thing really is like an anti-love, anti-Christ assault on who we are as souls. And these wonderful small four-legged creatures that we have in our world, they are like the uplift brigade that remind us of what love is and gives us the opportunity to love deeply within this very battle-scarred world. So our four-leggeds are essential to our spiritual attainment and our success. So we have to love and celebrate them and be in gratitude for them. And you can be sometimes a little bit out of patience if they bark at the UPS guy. That's okay. But you have to love and acknowledge them. So Mary also says, love the idea of a Museum of the Flying Rainbow, Lasagna. Thank you so much. This has been actually a very fateful, wonderful recording where I was able to verbalize that, because I think that it's powerful to speak your desires and begin to build your dreams into reality. So yes, I would like to set up an art trust. I would like to set up a permanent exhibition space, make sure that all of my artwork is protected, like have the insurance and protection from theft and fire. That's what I mostly worry about, because it's so incredibly valuable to me. And have a place where the entire body of work is on display and where people can see it. And I figure that it should be like most museums, a contribution somewhere between $1 and $20 to be able to go in there. And that makes it accessible to the public, affordable, and that you could also buy some kind of a long-term pass where whatever, you pay $20, you can come every day for a year. Because I want people to be able to come every day for a year if they want to. And if you want to, I want to say, like, take your mushrooms or whatever, like take them before you come to the museum, be safe. But because I only joke about this because so many people come into my my studio and they're like, this is exactly what I've seen on ayahuasca or mushrooms or whatever. Not that I'm such an advocate for those substances, but I would love to be able to have people, let's say it in a better way, spend the time that they need in a receptive and meditative state to really absorb the energy and the imagery that's in these paintings. And I also envision having my music playing at the same time so people can listen to my music, which is also very, very profoundly encoded with these harmonic conversations that I'm having with my Aurora collective all the time, and to have an immersive experience. And that's really just the beginning. And of course, I'm here. I'm not planning on going anywhere. This is also very big. I have many, many years to continue to be in physicality embodiment, as you do as well. And we will be transforming more and more into an eternal, indestructible body. So this will not be like me poofing out of existence and be like, see you suckers, I'm happy I left my museum behind. I'm still gonna be here. And I'm still gonna make more new stuff that will go into the museum. And maybe I will even be able to make things that are more than just a 48-inch panel, but might be an immersive experience or an installation that was not available to me up until this point, but where with a larger space, and I could make something that is even more extensive and expresses this truth even more extensively. So thank you for witnessing me in sharing this very important personal dream, but also dream for our society. And it will be an amazing thing to actually see this evidenced into reality. And I also am very happy to be an example to other artists that it is not necessary to acquiesce to a corrupt control structure in order to be seen in the world of arts. That too many people have either diluted their message or knelt down to the corrupt power structure, both in art and in music. And I'm talking about people that made like satanic agreements or corrupted themselves in some way to be able to get an opportunity to be in a gallery or in a museum or in a movie or on a radio play or Spotify or whatever it is. That it is not necessary at all. You can define your own path and your own existence and move forward without compromising, but it just might take many decades. Like I've been working assiduously and painting for 2 decades here and have not really had notoriety within the established world of art, which is, very corrupt. We will clean it up. You will have a much less corrupt playing field to share yourself on, but please recognize that it's essential for you to have role models of like, that person didn't sell out and they got their work out there, yes, and also that you can do it in your life, because there is someone like, there's a Van Gogh museum. That guy killed himself. He did not see the benefits of all of his amazing genius paintings in his world. He painted, and then like a giant explosion. He flared strongly, and then flared out of existence. And then everyone afterwards picked up the pieces and was like, "These are valuable pieces. Let's put them in a museum." And it took like hundreds of years, and now he is on Hallmark cards and very, very well known. That is not the current trajectory for all artists. So it has been too much, people have accepted the concept of never being celebrated in their lifespan and only having levels of success and recognition after they're already dead. You guys aren't going to die. You guys are going to fly in rainbow lasagna, transform your DNA, return to your eternal state, be ascended masters. So you have to recalibrate everything so that it's not going to be like, oh yeah, like one day I'll be famous when I'm dead. Like people will finally like my music or my art or my innovations or whatever makes you after you're dead. No. We don't do that anymore. Now we celebrate people when they're actually here and they're actually alive. So Marie, I will check out Dr. Sarfazi and see what's there, and thank you for sharing with us here. Okay, so this is good. Charlie B, thank you. And thank you for inspiring me to be able to talk about who I am as an otherworldly presence today. Says there's an infinite number of offered narratives, quote unquote, but only Aurora speaks from first principles that are self-evident. One can never trust in unsupported assertion, but can always rely upon first principles. Hint, Aurora's artwork is all first principles. Thank you. Really, thank you for your very intelligent and great analysis on who I am and what I'm doing here. And again, I'm totally not a BS artist. Very real, very authentic, and I feel like I can show and display all of the supporting integument to the ideas that I share with you and the validity and integrity of my worldview and where it comes from. And in class, I think you guys have already noticed this, I'm very consistent. I say the same thing every semester because I'm very consistent, because I am not merely making things up or fantasizing, might be a kinder way of saying it. I won't say their names, but your world is filled with people who are in the psychic world, the New Age world, and the UFO, xenophile world, of many people who are simply fantasizing, and they are not consistent, and they are largely making things up. Sometimes they are fabricating just for their own, lighthearted purposes. Sometimes they are fabricating for malevolent purposes, and I do not agree with them, and they are part of the structure that's handling you through your teacup handles, and that's not okay. So that's why I have gentle criticism for some, more corrosive criticism for others, and I just won't even go into those personalities and names because it's just not meant to be a personality contest right now. Aurelia writes in tiny letters, I have to really squint to read, says, I was doing very complex work in 2020, they wiped me. Oh, I understand, girl. Says, still retrieving. Your story about yourself is validating. Absolutely. And I'll just reach out and offer, like, perhaps there's something I can do to help you to retrieve, because there are many people here who have amazing psychic gifts, healing gifts, artistic gifts, and the regime behind this stuff absolutely assaults those people. People that have the greatest light to share are really assaulted and suppressed in this world. So this stuff, just as an FYI, does not grow equally inside of everyone. No, no, some people get really inundated with it. Some people get really, really attacked by it. Some people can barely live a normal life because it is diminishing their body metabolism so much and diminishing their cognitive ability and perception so much. And then I contrast that with, there are some people in my neighborhood, like I just use this one guy as an example. He's not a bad person. I'm not casting aspersions upon him at all, but he's just this happy guy, and he's got this electric scooter, and he wears a helmet. He's safe, but he just goes around my neighborhood like on his electric scooter. He's very happy. He has no idea about this stuff. He has no idea that this stuff is happening. He has no idea or recognition of aerosols in the sky. He has no recognition about AI. He does his job. He has a positive life. He rides his bicycle around town and rides his electric scooter around town, and I sometimes see him when I'm out with my little dog walking, and I can tell that he is not being assaulted by this stuff. So it is fascinating. Like, if you don't stick your head up above the parapet, you won't get shot. But that also means that you have to live in kind of like a cringing posture. You have to live in that crouched down posture. And again, he is happy in his life, but I would not be happy and fulfilled in my life if all that I was allowed to do was ride around my neighborhood in a little electric scooter. I would be limited. Like, I'm happy in my life when I'm allowed to like tell everybody about the flying rainbow lasagna and teach you how to be genetic freedom fighters and make a lot of music and make a lot of art and be a supreme troublemaker to the regime. So yeah, they don't like that at all. That's so funny. So yeah, so maybe I can help you, Aurelia. Let's talk about that sometime. And Rainbow Body was saying that their minions actually stink, and I know that she has a lot of personal experience at facing this stuff that is so unpleasant head on. I'm telling you, like, I'm connected to some very wonderful people who get targeted by the regime, get targeted by this techno-inquisition, and it is because you have a bright light to share. Pedro, I think, is explaining about the joke. So ahora is now, ahorita is right now, but it means a longer time. The joke is that we say, we will be arriving ahorita, but in reality we are just leaving home or starting to get ready to leave. Totally. It's like when you text someone and you say on the way, and it's like you're not on the way, like you're not even getting your shoes on yet. So I got it. That's very, very beautiful. Thank you for the translation. I needed the explicit translation because I had intuitively sensed it, but also I learned a little bit because I do like the word ahora is a lot like Aurora, and I've often kind of wondered about the confluence of sounds. Yeah, and Mary is, I'm talking about she's responding to what I was talking about in terms of galactic trauma bodies of the galaxy, the desecration of the Lyran race. Yes, so the Lyran wars, these are the lion-faced people. They would be considered great allies to you and me as freedom fighters. Their battles are parallel to what we face right now. So you exist in many time places, and that's one time place where you exist. And a lot of bad stuff was happening or is happening there, and the healing of this shell of reality absolutely radiates outward up to that shell of reality. And it's a huge trauma that it's deeply held inside of a lot of people. Some people don't have conscious memory of it. Aurelia says, thank you, Aurora, for your workings. You're very welcome. Thank you for that recognition, truly. And Pedro says, so we are not exactly telling a lie because we are almost there. We're totally on the way, Pedro. I'm telling you, we are getting there. Yes, and Mary's got it. She says, thank you, Aurora. They are fighting along with us. Absolutely. That is big stuff. So it's like cosmic clock type of things. As the cosmic infrastructure clicks more into alignment, like click, this is what this like kind of astrology type writing is about. There really are line of sight connections that happen between where we are in time space and where we were in time space in other reality structures, and we are able to kind of come back around and fix things up. So it's just like if you always have the same fight with your family members every Christmas, and then Christmas comes around, you're like, oh, like maybe we can fix that thing that we always fight about and do this better this time. It's like it's a time, I'm trying to talk about time cycles. So there was a time cycle that was from that time where we were severely disrupted, and it relates absolutely to the present time cycle that we're in, and we sometimes click into these positions of lining up, and then we are able to do a big house cleaning where you clean up not only the arguments of this Christmas, but all Christmas past, radiating backward into the future. And that's positive, good stuff. And they are fighting, or we are fighting in that level of reality also, where we have common goals, common battles, common enemies. Mary says, we love you, Aurora. Thank you. Thank you for that love. I love you too. Thank you for that recognition. Thank you for that solidarity. Thank you for that connection. It's as essential as I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it is what keeps us going in this war. It is what sustains us, and even in a non-war environment, love is what sustains us in positive reality building and reality creation activities that we do. So thank you very much for that. Marie says, where is the afterlife for those who are not ascending? So it's a complex question, because we are not going to have the afterlife anymore. We are not going to have the realm of dead things. The afterlife, or the realm of dead things, is really a realm that should not exist. It should not be peopled. There should not be anybody there, because none of us should ever die and should never have to live in an afterlife realm. So it is a complex question, and the solutions that are happening at this moment in reality are not the typical solutions, which have to do with, as I've taught you in class, the way that energy circulates through this map until it reaches the center here, which is what the ascension process is. So if you don't reach the ascension, usually you loop back around and try it again, except that this will not be an opportunity in our ongoing situation here. We will not have death, and we will not have this continual looping. So I wish that I had a more articulate answer for you, other than there will not be an afterlife option. The only option is to ascend. And that's a lot of pressure, actually. That's a very, very high expectation for every single blade of grass is going to ascend, every single microbe, all consciousness. When we say we don't leave anybody behind, we mean we don't leave anybody behind, because this entire planet, I'm not talking about like computers, microchips, AI, fibers, and things like that. I'm talking about biological life. If you're alive, if you're like a microbe or a butterfly and you're here, gonna have to ascend. There is not the option to die, and there's no infrastructure to sustain consciousness after death. All of that is really not ideal. I don't want to say negative or harmful, but mostly the idea of afterlife and having a peopled or occupied afterlife is very negative and has been used to distort reality and to hijack people's lives. Because too many people in our world are like, oh well, if I don't do it right, I'll just get another life, get another body, and try it again. And I'm like, I do not think that that is an option. And I think that people would treat their bodies and the sanctity of life much more differently. They would value it more if they knew that there was not just this get reborn option. So you really make a difference in this world, or change my words. Your whole entire quality of experience in this world changes and transforms when you make a commitment to this body, and you do not accept the possibility of dying. And you not only move off of the timelines that are about catastrophe and incineration or world war or any of those things, but you move off of the timelines that are about having a disease, having an accident, or having anything that creates a mortality event. And you move fully into a commitment to this amount of matter, like however many pounds you weigh. If it's whatever, let's just say roughly 150 pounds of matter, you make a commitment to those 150 pounds that you are going to raise that matter to the speed of light. And that is it. So when you run with the Tara Umara, you don't say like, well, maybe I'm going to get tired and kind of like stop after a couple of miles. They're like, no, like we're going to run 100 miles. Come with us. And you're like, okay, we're going to run 100 miles. You keep going. So the idea of death is this socially accepted and religiously promoted idea of having a very short journey and not running eternally. And really the software change that changes the hardware in your body is an inner commitment to yourself that you're like, I am going to keep running. That's what it is to be an eternal being, to continue onward and never stop. And it's a choice. And I will tell each one of you, the choice is not predicated upon whether your body is in ideal condition. You can make that choice even after having had diseases, having had amputations, having had physical limitations, and you can still make a commitment to this, however many pounds of flesh you are, re-achieving light speed. And I've talked about the awakened capacity of your insights to be able to do something like clear this stuff out and to purify the world of pollutions that aren't supposed to be there. That's only a part of it. You have amazing regenerative capacities that make it possible to keep running like the endless marathon and not to feel tired or diminished. But from your present level of capacitation, it might be unimaginable because you don't know what that level of regeneration is like. But just know that it exists, and it exists as a dormant potential inside of you. just like the capacity to run 100 miles. Like, well, guys, one day I'm going to run 100 miles. Like, right now I can run like 2 miles. That's pretty good for me. Because once you do something like, if you're like, I can do 2 miles, like, what if I just kept going? And that's how I think in my mind, okay? So, and I have many body challenges that I'm always working to overcome. But if I think in that way, then it becomes a possibility, a future that I can align with. And I would like each one of you to think about yourselves similarly, that you have done the experiment in smaller increments, like you've run 2 miles, and then simply to expand your conception of what it would be like to keep going. If you have ever danced with me the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, that's like running a couple of miles, like what would it be like if you never stopped? What would it be like if you never stopped? And we need to have much more abundant, purified sunlight, none of this chemtrail crapola, LED lights in the sky. Just need to have pure light. And it's just like when you're a marathoner. So these Terra Mara guys, you know what they run on? Corn alcohol. They make this type of like slightly fermented corn mash that's highly carbohydrate filled and slightly alcoholic. And they drink that through their whole entire time that they're running. But the point is, as an athlete, you must be properly fueled. And you need to have plenty of light to be able to lasagna and be a lasagna athlete and keep going eternally. And this world has a tiny amount of light in it. It's why I have to get out to the grocery store and get light and shine it out here for everyone. But when we fix everything, then you'll have plenty of light. So just know that I'm planting these seeds inside of you so that you have like real, genuine, grounded hope and grounded expectations in what it is to be your process of being an eternal being, and that it becomes much more possible to realize those imaginings into reality and actually experience them when you have the resources, and the resources are light. So we have to make certain that our world becomes fueled with light again, and then all these things become possible. Allison says, thank you, powerful. And Pedro says, thank you, Aurora, the best light teacher. Oh, wait, that's so beautiful. I'm still learning something new in each class. Thank you very much for that, Pedro, because I know Pedro has been in this class for a long amount of time, and I appreciate so much that you keep returning. You always have something to share, and I'm really pleased that there's always something new for you. So thank you so much for being a long-term committed student, and also thank you to everyone who's new, and thank you to people who are medium, long-term, medium, and super new people. I truly appreciate you being here with me. And Allison says, thank you for all of your amazing work. Thrilled to be a part of the FRL Marine Corps. Thank you. Yes, this is the most positive form of Marine Corps committedness to one another, warriors who fight for freedom and fight to protect one another and fight to protect the vulnerable, the innocent, and those who cannot yet protect themselves. Thank you for your contributions as well. And thank you for being, I sometimes say a bad ass is your vernacular phrase, but thank you for being a good ass, all right? Yes, very welcome. Pedro says, yes, let's not go into details of how many pounds. Some people I was underestimating, some people I was overestimating. Don't worry. And Pedro says, love the unfragmenting lasagna. Beautiful, beautiful. And I hope that people recognize, like, I'm never body shaming. I'm never fat shaming. I am really always trying to get people into celebration of the physical presence. That's what I'll end on. And thank you. I actually did speak for 3 hours all about myself today, and thank you for giving me this forum to be able to do that, and for listening and responding so beautifully to it. Doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is involves your physical presence, which mostly is judged according to its appearance and decorative aspect, and whether it is attractive according to different cultural expectations. But I'm always trying to encourage people to be celebratory of the physical form, that it is your presence. You're here. It allows you to be here. It is miraculous, and that wherever you are in your ability, mobility, or fitness, there's always room for improvement. Like, you celebrate who you are. I'm so happy that I'm here. I'm so happy that I have what I have. And also doing this Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance builds and regenerates so that you are able to have and do even more. So think about, like, if you have one of these classic cars from the 1950s, like, you don't just throw it in the landfill. You're like, you know something, this car is a classic, this chassis is great, plenty of miles left on this chassis. You just have to get a replacement headlight or a new fan belt or whatever, a new gasket, something like that. That is the regenerative process in the body. And you are able to, you actually all have a dormant regeneracy process that's part of what was snipped, sliced, and diced out of you and used to neuter humans and keep you in a smaller, mortal, more easily handled form. And that you will absolutely reclaim that as part of your personal rectification and the larger rectification. So that's, I think, a really positive thing to end on. Thank you for allowing me this. I needed to do this. I needed to speak about this, and I hope that it has fueled your journey. Like, we're on the marathon. We're running right now. We are running like the Tara Umara. We really are on that journey right now, and I do not intend to stop, and I hope that all of you don't intend to stop either. Like, if you intend to stop, that's like death. I hope that everybody who's listening to this is making this personal commitment to self and personal commitment to the journey where they're like, I am not going to die. I am going to stay alive, and we are going to stay alive, transform this world. That's what that painting is all about. And on the other side of that transformation, in a world that has so much more light available to it, you will be able to do things that are barely imaginable right now. Just know that you will do amazing things, and you will have enormous fun. Like, we have scrubbed the toilet so much, but the purpose of this is one big giant load of laundry, get it done, and then you do not have to do this continually in more and more and more time loops because we have not swept things under the carpet. So you get stuff done, and then we get to emerge into a totally different quality of existence, totally different, expansive reality where you can do things that are incredibly fun and gratifying. Elmer says, thank you so much. Very helpful and very inspiring. Thank you. That was a private message, but I did read it out loud. Thank you, Elmer. Thank you for being here as a new student. Beautiful. I'm going to hop off for right now. And thank you so much to everyone who watched this and was here during the recording of our actual class. And thank you to everybody who catches this in the archive, because there are a good group of at least 300 or 400 people, because I check the numbers, but not obsessively. But I'm so grateful for people that tune in each week to be able to see my class on YouTube. And Nicole says, thank you, Aurora, very much appreciated. You're very welcome, everyone. Positive encouragement, love, friendship, everything, good energy. Thank you very much. Sending it out to you is what I'm trying to say. Thank you very much.